I
Fuck the
know
show.
there are books. I haven't tuned into the show.
Yeah, see, that's why I hate the show, because there's this character that's kind of like an ugly duckling character, and I identify with that so much, and I loved it in the books. And basically, it's like a family tree of books, right? And they're this Victoria romance novel books that women enjoy, and like me being a tomboy, I hide that side of myself, but I try to. But like when the Bridgerton show came out and I saw what they were doing with the character that was an ugly duckling character, I was infuriated. And like the next, I only watched the first season because it annoyed me, so I stopped. And I think it was the second or third season where that character gets like her book season, and I wanted to throw hands because they kept her ugly and fat, and that's not the character. It's not the freaking character. I am fine with an ugly character that eventually like turns into the swan, because I don't want to just follow an ugly character. It's just not how I roll. I want my people pretty, because reality is sucky. It's why we distance ourselves from it through entertainment.
Yeah. Or you want, or yeah, it sounds like you want them to kind of evolve to
Yeah.
that beautiful state.
And they took that away from the character in the show, and it makes me so mad. She's like one of my favorite characters, and it just made me mad.
In general, when you make an adaptation of anything, if you don't follow the book exactly, you should be shot. So
Yes, it's a crime against humanity.
Well, I will say some novels and movies are different art forms, and sometimes like adaptations are tricky, right? Like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah, nothing always translates well.
yeah,
Or well,
and-
not that. That's a poor way of phrasing it. I take that back. I'm sorry. There are certain things that don't translate well from pages to the big screen.
yeah, for like Tom Bombadil, it was just never gonna make it. Like, just be honest. Like, it did belong in the movie, and it wasn't gonna fit. And also, there's like the first half of Fellowship of the Ring, there's like 80 fucking songs that it's just like I was so sick of Hobbit singing by the time I got to the second half of the book. I was like, okay, that's enough. It's fine. And so the fact that when the Hobbits do sing in the film trilogy, it's impactful and it's cool, and you get like little insights into their culture. Sometimes the moments emotionally poignant, but if you try to like shoehorn in all of the songs from the novel, it'd be tough.
It's a bit much.
Okay, I actually wanted to bring this up. So in preparation for this show, I read a lot of this filth, right? And one of the things that I read was 50 Shades of Grey. And the reason I started there was because that's what kicked off this trend like 10 or 15 years ago, right?
No.
Or at least what I started to
Sorry.
hold on, time out. I understand that erotic novels predate 50 Shades of Grey, but this specific trend I'm talking about was kicked off there. So
the first bigger iteration of it.
Right.
Yeah.
And also this is where you're seeing like mainstreaming of BDSM, which was previously pretty niche, right? But
Yeah.
what I noticed about that book is nothing fucking happens. The entire book takes place in her mind. There's more emails than sex scenes. So much of that book is just them emailing each other and her feeling like twisted up inside. And so it's just like her moment to moment emotional experience. There's like 6 plot events. They go flying twice in 2 different types of aircraft. They fuck a few times. And then she has a bunch of emotions and they exchange emails, right? Like that's what happens. There's nothing that happens. So how do you make that work, in a film? And so that was actually, I noticed, was kind of a through line in a lot of these books, right? Was that nothing fucking happens, but there's like the moment to moment emotional experience is kind of the through line, and the exception being like I got through A Court of Thorns and Roses. At that point, I had to quit on that one because I was just tired of reading narcissism, and I couldn't handle just these characters. This is the one thing that bothers me. This is the one thing that bothered me about getting prepped for this was these characters. They seem to have like no ability to connect the outcomes in their life with their choices. Like they couldn't form a connection between actions and consequences. at all. They were like these like beings that just like floated around and things happened to them and they couldn't draw the through line between their choices and the things that were happening. Like everything was always someone else's fault and they were always like emotionally righteous about it.
So
And
it's written by a woman.
Yes,
Yeah.
and like these.
I was about to say that. I was like, "Fuck, Theo!
No.
You put me on a panel full of women. You're about to make me say some of the
That's,
most
I'm just saying though, like the
unbelievable.
it cannot
It's
be.
for you.
Okay, let me. I read one of the books I read was "It Ends with Us," which has been adapted into a film starring Blake Lively. Now, by the way, main character in that movie is 24. Blake Lively is 37. Can I just say the hubris? The fucking hubris.
Yeah.
Okay. Setting that aside for a second. Like she in her internal monologue, she runs a flower shop and her boyfriend is one of the most successful neurosurgeons in the world. And in her, the way she thinks about it is, isn't it great how we're both equally ambitious and successful? That's how she thinks about that relationship. And she runs a flower shop sometimes. And he is but in her mind, they're the same. And I'm like, this cannot be a relatable character. This can't be how,
And
this
These are
can't
like
be
modern
accurate.
women.
Unfortunately, it is a relatable character.
No, don't tell me that. Tell me that this is just escapism and nobody finds these people relatable and that
You can't listen. Like, work is boring. Okay, you can't have like a job and be a main character where the job takes the majority of your mental efforts. Otherwise, it's not interesting on the relationship. Okay, the job is a convenient vehicle for stress between said characters.
Okay, actually, so it's interesting that you should bring that up. So the trend that I'm really talking about here that I kind of noticed was so 50 Shades of Grey kind of kicks off this thing of smut being like a thing that was like fine to just like read on the bus. You know what I mean? Like it's a public thing, right? And also the extremeness started to increase. And so that trend kind of like, I think modern life is very, very like you said, boring, but it's more than that. It's boring, it's routine, it's repetitive, everything's gray. We've just like sanitized the world of everything vaguely romantic or beautiful. And I think people are seeking more and more extreme forms of escapism to kind of deal with that. And
Absolutely.
the reason bring this up is like, okay, so the smut books getting more popular and more extreme and like more violent and kind of like linking those things together also mirrors this other trend of pornography online that's made for men, where age of early exposure is earlier and the desire for like extreme stuff and like novelty is also kind of like increasing. So these trends kind of like mirror each other. And I think it's because like life is like boring and hard and it kind of sucks right now. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Jordan, Jordan Peterson kind of brought it up. It was, around the time, I think around the time 50 Shades, like the first book got really popular. That was around, I want to say it was around the same time as like Me Too-ish, something like that. I don't know. I would have to check the dates on that. Huh?
It's earlier.
Earlier?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Twilight came out in like around 2007, 2009.
Oh, okay.
The 2010s is what we're dealing with. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
Freaking Twilight.
I was gonna say, I noticed you did not use my title. Okay, so my title for this podcast was supposed to be what is it? A Lord of the Rings fangirling and the Revenge of the Twilight Moms. The inevitable rise.
Right, but I have a male audience, so I have to. You understand why?
I put in the Lord of the Rings for it. Okay,
CJ, it's so much worse. It's so much worse than Twilight. I actually
no. This is Twilight's Revenge. Okay, you can thank Stephen King for half of this. So right. Stephen King's famous quote on Twilight was, "Harry Potter shows you the virtues of being good and fighting evil, and Twilight's about why you need a boyfriend." Okay. whether you like it or not, romance plays a big part in women's lives. And when you deride it, especially as a very public figure who pre-Trump deranged syndrome was somewhat of a universally beloved figure, you're going to get some kind of passive-aggressive, neurotically driven backlash.
Twilight isn't romance. It's childish and weird.
It's a what a woman does.
Yeah, I think you're both right,
What's
though.
the most powerful hand in the world? The hand that rocks the cradle.
It's
That's why we
equal and
speak English
opposite
today.
reaction, though, yeah.
So that's why we speak English today, is because women, the Anglo-Saxon women, raised their children to speak English, or Old Germanic, Old English. So this goes way back.
No, okay. I think you're both right, though. It can be both childish and absurd, and just how women are. It can be both of those things, right?
Well,
Like-
and it's a part of the way that you see it. So a large part of life is dependent on our partners being secure, trustworthy and reliable.
Logically driven. Yeah, like we're supposed to complement each other. Like women are more emotionally driven, men are supposed to be more logically driven, and they're supposed to, link up and play to those strengths.
Yes, and we have to acknowledge the reality of those weaknesses too. That's why yesterday, when you guys were on the other thing, I talked about in the comments about how most based women come off as slightly misogynistic because we acknowledge that women are capable of doing great harm.
One thing that I was gonna bring up last night on the show, because I did see your comment, is I sort of blame women like myself for the problems of today, because women like myself, like being a tomboy and leaning a bit more towards the testosterone within myself, means that I do sometimes get like offended when generalized girly women tropes take place. And it's just like, no, I want to be with the guys. I want to hang with the guys. I can do that stuff. I can't do this girly crap. So I don't want to stay at home. I want to have a job, and I want those rights, and I want to be able to vote. Like, if you take it back to that time, I do in part blame a bit of my inner self for what is happening today, because I see that as how that started, is those kinds of women like I am kind of brought this upon us for wanting those things.
A lot of women actually didn't want the right to vote.
Right. It was
A lot of women still don't want it.
Well, in a lot of part, how old? Can I ask how old you are?
Me?
Yes. Any of you?
I am 35.
I'm
okay.
26.
I would have pegged you for younger. So.
Me?
Thank you.
Oh, her. Yeah.
Yeah. First of all, no one's going to be pegging anybody. This is just being clear.
That's okay. No, a lot of history is a lot of history is cause and effect and reaction versus reaction. So you have ripples of backlash. You're starting to see that in the rise of the women on the right, where we're starting to be more assertive about things. Just because we don't bear all the blame. I would say this is I still stand by what I said yesterday. Is like the problems that we have today are the problems of sin, men and women, and we all get to share in that lovely blame. So my secondary title option for this was "Y'all Need Jesus." We're talking about porn books today. How many of my books did you read, Theo?
I don't see why that's relevant. Allison, you have thoughts on this, I assume. Would you like to speak? You're a ginger. You're here. I have a male audience.
wow.
Go ahead, speak to them.
We needed diversity,
Yeah, we have a lot of ginger fans in the audience. So go ahead and.
don't know. I'm curious if you read my book too.
God damn it. Okay. B.S. Warren, you're a man. Tell me about women.
Oh boy.
Warren, how many of my books have you read?
Oh shit, man. I will hold on. I will actually hold on. I will pull out you. I know you follow me on Twitter, so I will pull that up. But yeah.
Do you even know how many books I have? 'Cause I don't
Why
know.
is any
Well,
of
this
this
is
relevant?
literally no. That's not fair. Okay, that's not fair. Okay,
Have you
first
seen
of
my
all,
crowd work
real quick,
special?
real
No,
quick,
you
side
fucking
note-
haven't.
side note
So
to
why
the
don't you
audience.
eat a dick? How about that?
Theo, supersize me real quick, okay? Just real quick. Supersize me real quick for the audience, if you can. Gentlemen in the audience, you know, Theo's young male demographic. This is what it looks like when you are being emotionally manipulated right now.
Thank you.
Okay, just for the record. All right.
Preach.
But yeah.
I actually have a reason for asking. So okay.
Okay. What is your reason for asking besides eliciting a Catholic guilt reaction out of me?
Well, yeah, I'm good at that too. I think I get brownie points for that, right? So, but no, the reason I asked is because when you talk about romance literature in general, we're not just talking about smut. We actually are talking about romance as a genre. Okay, when I talk about romance and you talk about the porn books, I want to make sure that we're using similar terminology so we can delineate where one begins and the other ends. So
you are right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't write smut, but I do
yeah.
write romance, and I've gotten
Mhm.
criticism about it because some of those kisses are just a little too warm for some people. And but I don't like as a Christian, because that's the other reason I get blowback is I don't think it's good to deny elements of sexual attraction. So
Yeah.
I think it's important to show people you can get out of the kind of like the thirst traps and the baby traps of it. And that's part of the reason that I include those things. So,
yeah.
But that's why I was wondering, since you read all these other very popular authors and not any of mine, do you have any comps?
Oh, yeah. No, I also noticed that no one here has seen my crowd work special or left me any comments on it or shared it on their social media. So we're just going to call that a wash. How about that?
Well, I mean, she does have a point though. I mean, there is, and we've talked about this before, where there's sex with a purpose, which is romance, and then there's sex with less of a purpose, which is smut.
Yeah.
You know,
and like it can be tasteful.
Exactly.
Yeah, like hold on.
Yes.
I'll let all of you judge me real quick because I have a paperback with me. This is smut right here. Okay.
Yes.
This is
Yes.
the and
Where's the Fabio
kind
hair?
of grace. Huh? The Fabio hair?
Right here, baby.
They made him into they made the covers like
Theo
more
has Fabio hair.
for all the weebs.
You had me at hockey. Oh, is that
Oh,
not
gosh.
normal?
See? See? Now let me drill down on this for just 1 second. BS Warren, we'll come back to you for a second. But I've been noticing the hockey player motif a lot. What is it about hockey players? Is it that they fight? Is it that they're big? Is it that they're illiterate? Why do you like them?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I can actually answer this. Okay. So,
Okay. Give it to me.
all right. So one of the kind of darker secrets of the publishing industry as a whole is that they will coordinate marketing trends. If you've ever watched The Devil Wears Prada, this is similar to that. And a lot of indie authors who sell a lot of books, and the rise of indie authors, a lot of them copy the popular things that are happening today to get more sales in hopes that when you look for one thing, it'll be easier to find their thing. Okay, I have a lot of criticisms about the industry, but indie authors in particular, I want to hold to a higher standard. So I understand their reasoning for doing this, but I think unless you have a really good book that will stand out from those like copycat kind of things, I don't really have a high regard for them.
Yeah. That's one of the trend chasing is one of the biggest what was I going to say?
Yes, you
One of
are
the
a
biggest
lot
things,
more
like-
manipulated than you will believe.
Yeah, no, and this goes back to what this kind of builds off what Theo was talking about earlier with how 50 Shades of Grey kind of kicked it off. 50 Shades of Grey, that's where it started. I want to say this, like what we're seeing right now in the industry with just the overabundance of romantasy and monster fucker and all that smut. I want to say that kicked off around the popularity of ACOTAR, and now that's why we're seeing this massive influx of all this romantasy stuff. Because and like you said, this is something that has plagued. This has been a shortcoming that has plagued the mainstream publishing industry for decades. I mean, before this, it was what was it? It was I literally had him dystopia. YA dystopia with female protagonists. Yeah, like the Hunger Games kicked that off, and then you had the Allegiance series, you had Maze Runner, you had all that stuff coming out. I don't remember what year George R. R. Martin published his dystopia, but before that, it was Harry Potter with YA and YA fantasy. And I want to say there was a little bit of a trend that got kicked off by Rick Riordan with Percy Jackson and the Olympians as well, but that one was a lot smaller. It wasn't, yeah. And
I want to zoom in real quick. And mention something because this is relevant. So when A Court of Thorns and Roses first dropped, it was released as a teen book, and it wasn't age gated properly, right? So that kind of was able to piggyback on this YA trend, and this kind of reflects other trends where I was talking about earlier with men. The age of first exposure to porn and the hardcoreness of the porn have gone up pretty significantly, right? Whereas the age of first exposure has gotten quite a lot younger. And I think Court of Thorns and Roses was a gateway to a lot of Gen Z girls because it was first dropped as a teen book, right alongside the other YA books they were already reading, And if you kind of at the beginning, it kind of feels like a YA book, it doesn't you don't notice it's getting porny unless you know what you're looking for, which regrettably I do now because my brain has been trained. I was like, oh, she's going to fuck this guy. No, she's going to fuck both of these guys at the same time. Yeah, you can just kind of see it coming now.
I'm just glad I never read them. I can picture their covers and titles in my mind when I'm looking for books. And when I would read the summary for those ones, I was just like, I don't think I like this. I don't know. I felt like it might, because it's YA, maybe I'm just not in that age range anymore. Right. But I can still go back to my YA books that I read when I was in the early aughts, where I still enjoy them. And those ones just gave me a bad vibe. I don't know why.
Do you think you reflexively rejected them because they were popular with women?
You kind of hit me on the head with that. I don't like popular things. I don't like popular things. It's not just women.
Here,
I'm so nice with this shit, bro. This is how I do crowd work. I just fucking see
you just
shit
read me like a book,
baby.
Motherfucker.
Yeah.
No.
Sorry.
Yeah.
One of your strengths as a humorist, for what it's worth, from what I have seen of your stuff,
okay,
is that humor is very good at connecting you to the humanness of your audience. That is something that a lot of people, when they get up and they do stand-up comedy, have to remember. And I think that's why, in dealing with literature, it is kind of almost like a second kind of branch for you to reach out and analyze it. So, because, but see, since you're a man, you're not a woman, That's where we kind of have to untangle some of those cross wires.
That's why we're here. Why we're here. You're here to untangle and uncross wires. That's why because again, my impression of reading these books is Jesus God. First of all, I did not understand the extent to which women's emotions were just changing all the time. These protagonists will have 15 different emotions in one 10-minute conversation. And I'm like, that's crazy. I spend almost my entire life in a state of emotional neutral, and I actually work really hard to maintain it. That didn't come naturally to me. I had to earn that, right? But I don't think I understood. I don't know. I've said this before on other shows, but I always felt like women were being crazy on purpose to piss me off. And now I kind of think that they can't help it. It's just their emotions are all over. And I think what fucked me up in relationships with women was I would try to match them. I would try to match their emotional frequency, and it was exhausting and confusing and kind of left me frazzled. And I realized that's actually not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to maintain your emotional neutral, and she's all over here, but you can kind of keep her tethered to reality.
The melody. She is.
Yes. And, well, because we talked about this on the show yesterday. Sometimes women are upset, and sometimes they just need a taco. And they need someone there to, like, you see these girls on TikTok after the election just like screaming into their phones. Did it look like one of them had a balanced breakfast? No, they just got up and they had nicotine and iced coffee and they went straight to TikTok and just started screeching, right? Because none of them had husbands. It's your husband's job to be like, okay, honey, I hear that you're upset. Have you drunk water today? Would you like a bagel? Maybe we should start there. You know, like that's his job, you know, you're to bounce things off of. I don't think I understood that really until I read these books.
The other side that I want to like harp on a little bit is that like Harry Potter was like the first big name that like combined like the far reaches of the internet, okay, with the children of the 90s. Okay, that's why like the stuff before it is a lot less well known because most of that was filtered in through the schools, and depending on where you lived, you wouldn't necessarily read the same books as somebody else that lived in a different state or a different area. Okay, so like Harry Potter was the first really big, really big thing, and then that meant the internet, and the internet has Rule 34, and and then and you actually see this like one of Rowling's praises, consistent praises over the years, is that she wrote a really good series that both boys, especially boys because they're not prone to reading, could gain accessibility to, and then the Twilight kind of spinoff was for the girls, and then the Twilight moms picked it up. And then you have, with the Hunger Games, the biggest criticism that I mean, consistently hear about the Hunger Games criticism is that Katniss is not relatable. And I feel bad because I'm like, oh, I actually really loved her character. And they're like, but she wasn't like a girl. And I'm like, yeah, because she's had trauma. She's had all this trauma in her life. And you have to understand that like the Tyler Durden theory kind of strikes again too, where this is the generation where you have a lot more broken homes, you have a lot more publicity because of the internet, and you have a lot more women who have been warned off against predatory men. And unfortunately, there are more options for predatory men to gain access to women. So it's a big cause and effect, action, reaction, reflection, backlash, reaction, backlash sort of thing that has brought us to this moment. The other big thing that's happening in the 2020s is the rise of AI and translations. You would not believe it, but like American Romantasy is really actually not that great, but like I really like the Korean stuff. So
you know, I've heard that. Yeah. You're not the first person to say that to me.
No, they do it so well.
Yeah.
Good job.
I also read a lot of the Japanese light novels. I have a bunch in the other room. I should have grabbed them before I came on.
Yes, The Rising of the Shield Hero. You have Sword Art Online. Those are early things that have really brought in the isekai sort of genre for men. So, what does this say about our culture? Y'all need Jesus. That's what it says. And I sincerely mean that too. I'm not even joking, even though I said it with the Southern stuff in it. You have to realize that like the story of the gospel is God coming for his bride. That is romantic. That is part of being developed as a person, is to know and experience God and to show his love and reflect that love on someone else, you know, that may be undeserving of it. And then you have the fantastical elements in the Bible too. You know, the idea of creation, like God said, let there be light, and there was light. There's a lot of things that I think people have missed just because we are a generation divorced from kind of like the Bible thumper generation. Thanks, boomers. Again, that is a good portion of humanity, and it's been lost because people haven't taken it seriously. Because, like I said, women's interest in romance has been derided multiple times and neglected. And then, like I said, as passive-aggressive manipulators as we are,
right?
We take it personally,
right? Okay,
we will now invade every man's space ever.
No, and I want to drill down on this, okay? Because this is important. I think this is one of the problems that we have with men and women today is we have a lot of failures of cross-sex mind reading. Okay. Where gestures that are pretty normal are misunderstood. Here's one. When men make fun of stuff, it doesn't mean we don't like it. When we are making fun of you, it does not mean we don't like you. We make fun of each other because we do like each other. So when we say you're annoying or weird or odd or the stuff you like is stupid, that's the same thing I say to men that I would die in the trenches for. Okay? I talk to them the same way. I'm worse to them than I ever would be to you. I am so much nicer to you than I would be to one of my best friend in the world. I call him homophobic slurs at least once a day just so he knows I love him, man. I'm serious.
The other side of that, though, is that to do that, you have to have some foundation of trust that is reliable for your audience to build on. So, I mean, it's like when you go into your set, you go in to entertain them. You're not there to secretly shoot everybody. Although that would be kind of hilarious.
Right. But I guess the point I'm making is that since women don't have that norm. So I think when women hear men making jokes about women, some of women who trust men understand what's going on. But women who, when the trust is compromised, they get defensive and they seek for either an outwardly aggressive or passive aggressive response.
Yes.
Right. They meet because they think they're encountering aggression. Because if a woman were saying those things, they would be. Right. But this failure of cross-sex mind reading, they don't understand that we're just trying to have fun. And then they kind of respond to that aggression with aggression. Like, it's not good.
Psychological aggression sometimes.
Yeah. And so it's like, but you got to understand, like, you got to understand why we're doing it. You know, it's like, where it's like, just because you're annoying doesn't mean I don't like you. In fact, you being annoying may be what makes it fun for me to like you. Like, if you were just like doing all the same shit I was doing, I would get bored with you. Like, I need you. That's why Gal has to be such a pain in the ass, because she has the same interests as men. That she has to do something to make herself annoying, or it's not going to be fun.
I'm sitting here like, don't make the comment. Don't make the comment. Just listen. It's
fine. Make the comment.
To be fair,
he invited you in here. If you don't make a comment,
yeah, I knew. To be fair, I knew what I was getting into already. Like, I invited you here, hoping that you would comment and just trusting that I was going to be able to deal with it.
I mean, really, the only comment I'm talking about is like, are you sure you invited me on here to be a woman?
But I actually think that's a really good point to make, just because you are a contrarian. Okay. He needs a wide like kind of range of where the agreeableness of women that tends to override our sex ends. So
yeah.
So I'll agree with you and then insult you and you won't notice. So then you'll thank me. So
most of this I've just been internally laughing, like when you were talking about Katniss. I read the first book of the Hunger Games and I saw the drama that was coming in later and I'm like, I'm good. I don't need this. But you said that like people didn't really like Katniss because they couldn't relate to her. And I was like, she's the only character, like she's the only thing I liked about the book. I found that hilarious.
A lot of the women that I've talked to about it they tend to be very wide readers, and they tend to like the what I call like the candy bar books better, you know. And the Hunger Games had a lot of underlying meat to it that was just not gonna ever be to their taste. So, yeah. So she's one thing I liked about her is that it was very hard on some level to identify with her, because she hid a lot of the things that women normally would call for sympathy. You know, it's like, oh, my dad died in a mine accident. My mother's insane. My sister is the only thing that I have to live for. She never put that on her shoulder and expected you to feel sorry for her.
Because she essentially had to be the protector, the provider, the everything. So showing any sort of weakness in that would just cause more problems for her family and the people that she loved.
And see, I liked it because it was such a divergence from the oh, woe is me Cinderella type things, where even if they're good people, you get tired of feeling sorry.
No shit. These books are just one giant fucking pity party. Like, they're just always whining about shit. There's no shortage of shit, and everything that happens is someone else's fault, and they're the victim. They're just like these. They're just floating in the wind without any agency. Just these balls of like childish emotion, like fucking overgrown toddlers with sex pheromones. That's how I would describe these characters.
Our teenagers, you know. In that book.
There's actually
Terrible.
a book that I can't finish. Like I love fantasy and romance, like magic and stuff like that. And this one is specifically like that, where there is a guy that is super powerful, and this woman didn't know that she had magic, but she gets through everything by stumbling upon, oh, I have power. And and he wants to train her, and he can't figure out how to do it, but she just gets more and more powerful without training at all whatsoever. And everything, like you said, is everyone else's fault. And I'm just like, I can't, like, I don't like not finishing a book. If I start it, I want to finish it. It is so difficult. It's just been sitting on my nightstand for the longest time, where I'm like, this woman, like, I like some of the dynamics between the two main characters, but she's pissing me off because she just like trips and falls, and all of a sudden she's a badass in every situation that she gets herself into that she thinks is someone else's fault.
That has to be kind of how it feels, though, to be the beneficiary of like affirmative action from kindergarten, right?
Yeah.
Like to be a hot girl, and you go in elementary school, you can go to the women in science camp for girls, and then you get the scholarships, and then you get preferential treatment for the job, and then you get to be a women's leadership coordinator and make 150 grand a year. Like, it has to kind of feel like you're just slipping and falling into one dope opportunity to another, you know, especially with Instagram now, you got football players in your DMs. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, I was just agreeing with you, because that's all of that brings is this push for women in STEM. We need more women in STEM. Why do we need that? Maybe if you stop and you think about it, it's not something that they naturally, like, what's the term? The progress to. Yeah. Like it's not in their interest level, our interest level. I should probably talk about women as if I was one.
I actually have a really quick funny story about that. When I was still in college, I don't really like to talk about like my life outside of author stuff that much, but I went to college for like an engineering degree, and I remember sitting down in what I thought was one of my classes for a moment. And then like about 10 minutes in, like the lecture's 2 minutes from starting, I looked around behind me. I'm like, I'm in the wrong classroom. There's way too many women in here. And I got up and I went next door where the actual class was, where my actual lecture was.
Well, and that's the thing. So women don't really have an affinity for that. And so they try to be forced into it because your parents want you to do these things. So then there's all these opportunities because there's scholarships set up for women to go into STEM or whatever thing is popular that is a man's world at that time. And it's not just gender related, it's race related. There's all these things where we're separating people into these little boxes where, okay, only these people are allowed to do these things. So they're going to be pushed towards it. And it's so frustrating to me because that is not how I grew up. I don't want to be checking boxes all day long so you can put me into whatever box you think that I'm supposed to be in. And it's forced on us from a very young age. And technically it was like, I was born in 89. So I'm on like, I have both feet in different eras, essentially, where this stuff kind of started when I was growing up, but it wasn't really deep seated into society like it is now.
Well, yeah, this gets to something I talk about a lot. Sorry, I don't want to cut anybody off. I want to throw this out to the panel and this is what I say. Like, we live in a society that hates women, but not in the way that feminists say it does. And what I mean is that we live in a society that says in order for a woman to be virtuous, she must behave exactly like a man. And that's something that's going to make most women tremendously unhappy, and they're not going to be well suited to it. So you've basically put women on this like eternal like hamster wheel of doing things that make them unhappy and thinking the secret to happiness is doing more of those things. You know, like
it comes down to the term empowerment, because women who struggle with depression, and like I said, with the rise of divorce and broken families and father-daughter relationships being strained as an overall trend, and especially with the accessibility to the internet to increase these things, you're going to find that a lot of women will respond to empowerment. But there are good forms of empowerment that will work for them long-term, and there are short-term forms of empowerment that do not end up, going well. So I see the push for STEM as a short-term empowerment thing.
This is the most based fucking show I have ever done. It's when I have an all chick panel, and B.S. Warren is here too. Let's not forget it. This is so much. Whenever I have dudes on and I try to approach these issues, there's always some dude who's like, "But not all women and men are a problem too," and they try to hedge. You guys aren't fucking hedging at all.
Well, we all know that this is a generalization.
Yeah.
Like whenever, like, come on.
Society hates men's too. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes I feel like that's because men aren't allowed to do that in modern society because it's going to be seen as, oh, you're trying to keep the woman down and you're a misogynist and the patriarchy type of situation where women are kind of allowed to be this way. They might get flack for it. We might get flack for it.
I call it the Nurse Ratched filter, where if you're pretty, you can get away with being a terrible person.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's true. I've noticed that just in my own personal life.
If you watch Parks and Rec, and you understand that Leslie is the bad guy, the show makes so much more sense.
Oh fuck! Now I have to rewatch it.
It's such a great show, but she has a point.
She is a terrible person with a terrible life. She is so disorganized, and the writers want you to root for her. And it's like, why would I root for somebody that is this irresponsible on a personal level to be in my government? I mean, isn't that like the reason that we're having a lot of trouble now? You know,
and just look at all of the people that she wanted to emulate in government.
Yes, that's funny too.
Tell you a lot. The
whole Venezuela episode makes me laugh because I know people from Venezuela, and it's like that's gone to the crapper real fast.
Yep. Yep. So good. It was such a good show.
It was a good bait and switch show where they gave you a pretty person to push communism, and they succeeded to an overwhelming degree.
It's technically true, yes.
Don't fall for big socialist titties. They're there to hypnotize and enslave your ass.
That's right.
I mean, technically speaking, don't fall for conservative titties that are also trying to do the same thing.
No, and that's a big problem too. We were talking about that on the show yesterday. We got fucking Ashley St. Clair. Just turns out she spent all this time talking about how the importance of family values, only to become Elon Musk's 8th baby mama. By the way, that's how many baby mamas Future has. To be clear, he's putting up, which I don't know if that resonates with this audience, but Future has a lot of baby mamas. Like, he's a rapper. This is absurd.
Who's Future?
Okay, all right. I forgot who my...
The only reason I say that is because I don't listen to modern rap and hip-hop. I'm a 90s and early aughts girl.
God.
I
really got to get more cool people watching my show.
I don't know.
Get that shit out of here. Give me the classic shit. Real shit.
See, this is the other problem with society, though, in that you can see that very emblematic in rap itself.
Yes.
Is that it's always going for the timely thing instead of the timeless thing. So, I actually have a friend that's a rapper. His name is Diggs to Prophecy on Twitter. He actually wrote a song for my comic book, and and he did a super job. His channel is wonderful, and he loves anime and he writes about anime, but he doesn't write about like the plots. He writes about the universal themes that are found within the stories. I've listened to enough of them to know that he's actually really talented, and I don't know if a lot of people would ever see him as like super famousable, because he doesn't have any like personal beefs, and he doesn't act like a rapper who is gonna go to a P. Diddy party, you know.
So what's his name again?
So Diggs to Prophecy. It's DIGGSBA.
Please don't let him go to a Diddy party.
Yeah,
whoever's replaced Diddy now. Whoever's having
he's a very nice guy, so I've never had a bad interaction with him. So.
Don't let him hang out with Jay-Z.
I kind of love that, focusing on the timely versus the timeless. You see that in the books that you've already mentioned. You see that in Harry Potter, which was timeless, and Hunger Games, which was timeless. But then the books that kind of followed them are more of the timely books. You have like Maze Runner and Hunger Games, and you know, all the fantasies that came after Harry Potter that I don't know. And
especially with some of the wise. Oh, sorry, you go ahead.
I was gonna say, even look at the MCU. We've had 30 films over the last like 20 years, right? And the ones in the beginning are all about universal themes. The question of the reluctant hero, and
point.
The rise of the uncertain ruler, you know, with Thor, and the the desire to do well, even if you're not like able to physically do it. You know, can you rise to these challenges and overcome the complications that arise from standing up to them along the way? Those are very universal themes.
Yeah, I noticed that. Okay, that's a good point. I was wondering why I was reading these books and I was wondering why the narratives were so hollow for me. And I was like, just fucking, there's nothing here. And it's like, because it's all about short-term, like emotional roller coaster, like not necessarily dopamine rushes, but like a short, like you get kind of this emotional roller coaster experience if you are reading them with empathy. I'm reading them with like an autistic detachment, so I'm getting nothing out of it. But I can't relate to these people at all. But you're right. That's the other thing too.
But it's kind of like writing like one-liner jokes the entire way. Like if there's a narrative that encompasses all of them, and you understand the narrative, that's one thing. Just saying, like.
Thank you for shitting on one-liners, by the way. Thank you for bringing that home for me, because I can't stand puns. Puns are stand-up comedy in the way a kazoo is a musical instrument, kinda, but not. You know, kinda. You're almost there.
On who's holding the kazoo? I guess.
I feel the same way about. I mean, don't get me wrong. One-liners are a legitimate art form to the extent that they are, but it's objectively inferior to what I do. I tell one 30-minute story. Yeah. And it's all connected, and I wrote it to go together in a certain order. Yes. And it means something to me. This is my breakup album, you know. I don't want to.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. There are 9 types of humor. Okay, and storytelling formatting is a great way to encompass all of them.
Yeah. Anyway, hold on. Give me 1 second. You guys talk amongst yourselves. I have to close my door because it's getting loud where I am. So hold on.
Oh, I like your dog, Selena.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm back. So before we get too hung up on Selena's dog, which we all love Selena's dog, but okay, is what's making these books so like vapid and shallow and cheap? Is it the fact that they don't have universal themes, or that they're focused on like short-term titillation over universal themes?
Among other things, I think the short-term titillation definitely plays into it heavily. Because when you write something solely for, you know, I think I'm using the word right, prurient interest, then
I'm going to put you in timeout if you keep this shit up.
Yeah. Also, rip MSK. I saw that he got banned.
Yeah, I just wasn't gonna do it with a female panel and MSK in the chat. I just wasn't gonna do that today.
Choice.
Like Gal, you're tough, but Allie, you're new, so I don't. You know what I'm saying?
MSK is he's MSK.
He's a
character. I've heard the stories.
He's a character. He's a treasure. He's a treasure. Yes. But yeah, when you write something with, you know,
an expiration date on it.
Yeah, you know. Wait, what?
No, so like one of the funnier jokes that I have in my books, and I'm going to push it because I like it, is I have a Jeffrey Epstein joke. How do you make that timeless and timely at the same time? You have to kind of marry those things together. Yeah. So my one in my one of my Fat Girl books, which is about this, like it's this series about this supermodel wannabe, and she eats radioactive donuts and accidentally becomes Fat Girl, which is like her superhero name that her city like loves her and gets her. It's funny. Anyway, she's her grandmother says something about, oh, he didn't kill himself. They're talking about something, you know, neither did Jeffrey Epstein. And she says, get with the times, his name is Einstein. So she's confusing Einstein and Epstein. And and of course, Einstein is somebody that will probably be studying forever. And then you have it tied into Epstein, which is very timely. So you can have the timeliness and timely overlap, but it has to be done smartly. And a lot of people are being rushed to meet deadlines. And like I said, they're pushing out specific trends, and they're trying to get like different feelers out for what will kind of like stick. Because there is some element of surprise in industry like obsessions.
Yeah, and then the
I wonder-
ideological climate makes it way worse, like exponentially worse.
Yeah, and well, some part of that is actually, if you've ever heard of Shine, SHEIN products, they used to be like one of the world's like top brands, and now they're one of the fastest brands. And they figured out they figured out a way to figure out which trends would stick with fashion, and that's kind of what's happening with literature and kind of like the technological ecosphere in general.
That's actually
Sure.
what I was wondering is it's kind of like shorts versus a long form video on YouTube or like the TikTok formatting of things. And I wonder if a lot of this has to do like the vapidity.
Yeah. Can we talk? Actually, I want to zoom in on this too before you, because TikTok has had a big role in the explosion of certain types of books that we're talking about as well. So it's not just the TikTokification metaphorically, also literally TikTok has significantly contributed to this. So you're right on two fronts, basically.
Yeah. And I didn't know that I hate TikTok. I don't have one, never did.
Of course, because it's popular with women. So you hate it.
It's not just women. So my issue is if it's popular in general, but specifically if it's women.
Oh, good. So you're a generalized contrarian.
Popularity thing means
Have you seen Game of Thrones?
You're a hipster.
I lost a bet after season 7 ended. And it was a bet over months long, like, because I'm in Colorado and at the time it didn't snow as frequently as it has been the last 3 years. Whatever. The details of the bet don't matter. I lost a bet and I had to watch it. It's the only reason I watched Game of Thrones. I enjoyed it. And that happens a lot. So it'll be something that's popular for a good reason, but I don't care because I don't want, like, you like that? No. I liked the colors blue and green before it was popular. Then it became popular and I was pissed. That's the type of person I am. I'm a little crazy. So.
All right, Selena, I know you wanted to interject at some point. I think my mic was muted and I meant to jump in and tag you. Did you have something you were going to say?
No, because I don't read these books at all. I've never read a romance book in my life.
All right, you're just
I don't read books either.
I'm just here.
Yeah, because it had to be like
I'm enjoying the conversation.
Okay,
like,
so your homework then for tonight is going to be read one of mine.
No. Please. My show is a cool place. There's not homework here. We don't do that. This is detention. This is not class.
So out of
detention.
Oh my God! What is? Oh my God!
My bachelor's degree is in teaching.
Oh fuck me! That's why you're like this.
Yeah.
Okay, this is starting to make a lot of sense. Okay.
You didn't do any research on me at all.
I just felt vaguely lectured. That's what it was. I think just a vague sense of being talked at. And now I know where it's coming from.
It's okay.
No, and that's why I feel the reflexive need to rebel against you, for the back of the class. I understand where that's coming from now.
Oh my God, there's an authority in the room.
Yes, this is all making sense. This is good.
Oh no, you add this to the mom part of me, and it's like,
oh yeah, big mom energy. You reminded me like 6 times to make sure I sent the StreamYard link to your email.
Yes,
and it's like no, I remember because I can scroll up.
That's right. You can remember you don't have a wife and 2 kids to chase after. So
right. Yeah, it's this. This is what I fucking do this, and I drive to dive bars to make dick jokes. That's my whole life. And I have a cat. He basically takes care of himself. I live with a dog door now, so he just goes outside on his own. I don't even know what I'm for at this point. He's walking around here like he's got a 10-inch dick. Like he just thinks he runs the fucking place. Like I'm the one who doesn't pay rent. Anyway. But this is okay. This is
well, I would like to say, like, just back on our earlier topic, one of the virtues of technology is that you can analyze things a lot more fast or a lot more quickly. So you do see when you have something popular like TikTok, I generally try to stay away from the popular things because there is a point of time where things that like come out of the goodness of human creativity, are good. They're fun and exciting. And then people kind of abuse them and turn them into this awful, psychotic thing. And that's kind of what happened to TikTok pretty fast. So there are still uses for it, obviously for marketing. There are still influencers who are very big on it. And I do actually agree that China should have no part in the American, the American databases that are mining your stuff and giving your phone number out to companies for bukus of dollars that you're not going to use it.
Yeah, they actually. This is just a quick side note. The ByteDance, the company that handles TikTok, they actually run facial recognition on everybody that uses the app.
Yep.
So they've got
Dang.
a what's it called?
Profile.
I'm gonna get into a bit of tech stuff, but they have like a template that they can match you against, essentially. So like all the teenagers that are like on TikTok now, when they grow up and they get security clearances, then they have like a database of all the people, with their information, so they can track you going through airports and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. Welcome to 1984.
I mean, look, I'm not against a company giving my phone number to a bunch of Asian girls in principle, but somehow I feel like that's not how this is playing out.
No.
I feel like it's.
If you've ever
not
had
happy ending
your
you
spam calls, you'll know exactly what I mean.
This is right. I mean, now again, I don't really pay attention to the news. I'm really focused on these girl porn things. So, so bringing it back around. Okay, so so the reason I got interested in this is I noticed it, and then I wrote a joke about it that I didn't think was that good, and then I started doing the joke, and all the way it would play out is the women would start laughing and the men would just have no idea what I was talking about. And then that would be the second punchline of the joke was to see what I'm fucking talking about. And then they would, right. And then that brings them in. And then I've had men come up to me after shows and be like, dude, the shit is crazy. Cause it's like, here's the thing. It's the darkness of it is kind of like, I think alarming to men, because we're raised to think that women are these like delicate fairy creatures that want to be rescued by effeminate, princes with bowl cuts, right? But actually, in these books, they're like the guys that they're fucking are like murderers, and they're like fucking them on top of a corpse, Well, I mean, and like a lot of times these guys are like, like there's a real chance that the girl herself might get murdered. Because this guy is so, emotionally, captivated by her. Right. And I think it's weird that we live in the place where romance and sex and sexuality has been the most sanitized from everyday life, and where we're the most Me Too and the most yes means yes, enthusiastic consent is the only acceptable sexual model. But then when women want to retreat from that world and go into a fantasy world where they can tune the real world out, the worlds that they seek out are worlds with these super, violent, aggressive, assertive men. I think that's interesting.
Some of it's
thoughts panel.
Some of them, some women actually do retreat to a fantasy world, like the one in Morning Glory Milking Farm. That's the one with the girl that she gets like a side job or something at a farm where she has to like milk minotaurs for a living.
Oh,
it's nasty.
Oh, fuck.
I'm sorry.
That's what I'm talking about.
Real quick. Not only did Theo put me on a panel full of women, he put me on a panel full of the most ladylike women in this corner of the internet. So here I am, discussing barbaric topics. Yeah.
That is
so I cannot do you, don't worry.
So this is funny. I'm a tomboy, but please let me be the princess that's rescued by an actual Prince Charming, because I don't want to fuck a crazy murderer on top of a corpse. That concept to me just kind of broke me a little when you described it.
Yeah,
those are not my kind of books.
There's like a whole, there's like a whole
crap.
And it's like a lot of people call it monster fucker, but that's basically
which I know it exists.
There are a lot of niches in it, for what it's worth. There are a lot of niche genre dichotomy points that I think are worth mentioning. And in general, though, the idea of woman as like a damsel in distress is one part of a woman. You're seeing the one-dimensional woman when you categorize it as that. Yeah. The other side of it is that women have to become, like, you're seeing the princess version, okay? women also have to become queens, you know.
Mhm.
So we have
And
to
it's
have
not just sitting back
right.
being saved. Yeah.
The best romances are the ones where the women fall in love with the man and they feel lucky, and the man falls in love with the woman and he feels lucky.
Yeah.
And then you can't really separate the two of them without like everything falling apart.
Well, and I think it was V.S. Warren mentioned it earlier. Like the good stories are where they complement each other.
Yes.
It's not this dynamic of like one is better than the other type of situation or whatever. Like the stories that I want are, sure, the woman eventually might get saved, but she's also in a way saving the guy back type of situation. That was way too Pretty Woman-y, but
The green flag romance.
No, that's exactly right.
like there is a side to it that the woman has a responsibility as well. It's not just one-sided situation.
Okay, now that's why I'm going to bring in Allison. So, Allison, you write green flag romances.
Yeah.
How do you square that with the popularity of these, narratives where the guy is like, the book is basically the reader has a toxic relationship with this dude before getting like donkey fucked and Eiffel Towered by him and his homeboy. And then, you know what I mean? Like, how do you square that with, you writing books with like feelings and shit? Thoughts?
Well, okay. So I have a 12-year-old stepdaughter, and I also had a large part in raising 2 of my nieces. And I feel like writing the books that I write, I have a responsibility to show them what relationships should be. So I do write stories where like you said, they complement each other. I don't write the story, and there might be a sex scene or two, but they're sex with a purpose. They're sex as a natural part of a relationship.
They're not done like gratuitously.
No. But I'll never write, 2 people fucking on top of a corpse, like you said. That is
or more than 2.
Yeah, or more than 2. Yeah, exactly. Because those are the red flag romances, right? Those are the bad boys that you want to stay away from, the ones that your mom told you about.
Yeah.
And the books that the 50 Shades of Grey, and what was the other one? I can't even remember what you said.
It Ends With Us.
It Ends
and
With
then
Us.
Court of Thorns and Roses, what I've talked about so far.
All, in my opinion, all red flag romances, every single one of them.
Sorry, but can you explain? I'm sorry, but just real quick, what's a green flag romance? Because I don't know any of these terms. Do you mind?
Oh, Toasty's here. What's up, girl?
I don't actually know specifically, but I can assume that it's basically so like Selena, if there's red flags in a guy that you just met, like he does some toxic type of things, even though that word has been destroyed in modern terms. It's basically the opposite. Things, the goodness in a person. Yeah. That's what I assume it is.
Thank you. No, the audience had that same question, I assume. This is
And see, so sometimes things that I enjoy reading also are things like vampire romance type things, but I go back to the word tasteful, like where everyone has some sort of past. There can be ones, I promise you. I saw that look, Theo. Yeah. But
okay.
So where it's not this extreme constant toxicity where like the woman actually changes the guy, and just because he has a past doesn't mean that it can't be something that you can grow from. I don't know if I explained that well.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, but like, okay, so
like green flags are like he's taking care of his mom. Like,
so I'm not saying that that's green flag, by the way. That was
green
just
flags are like
I mean, like,
you see in a Hallmark movie.
Like the priorities that the character has match up with more of a virtuous kind of.
Time out. Just want to draw attention to this comment real quick because it is objectively true. Thank you, Toasty. All right, that's it. Go ahead. Continue.
Well, your objectivity is a little bit more subjective, I think, than you think. But
I think it's objectively true. I think we can all agree on that. I am sexy Jesus. I think we all agree on that, and I think we're just going to establish that as canon. Thank
Matt
you.
Strife.
I just thought she was saying Jesus. I didn't know that you were Hispanic.
That's right.
Yeah,
Thank
the
you.
green flags though are when the male character typically prioritizes a virtue in his life. So like taking care of family instead of going to get the big city to get a promotion type stuff. You know, the priorities are
Traditional.
in line with the main female characters as a long term, like as a green flag.
Like wholesome.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And just to point out, like I was speaking more towards like not to do with green flags, with the like I can fix him type of mentality of books. Like I do have an interest in books where both characters can grow, where it might be a woman that is too strict in her virtues to where it shuts out the entire world. And he might be the polar opposite of that. And they eventually come together, realizing that seeing the error in their ways for both sides of it, where they're complementing each other in that way.
Yes, the insufficient vices and the overstimulated virtues can balance out a little bit more harmoniously. Yeah, and the other thing to kind of tack onto that too is sorry, I just had a brain fart.
I do that all the time, and I haven't had kids, so
I had a really good thing to say too. I'll think of it in a minute.
Okay.
So, yeah. So, and this is what I was going to say. I guess is like to Allison's point. There's a big disconnect between the women who are writing these books, and their audience, the presumed audience. A lot of these women write for themselves. You know.
Indulging like a person.
That makes so much sense.
Yes, writing is a very personal act. I mean, like that's part of the reason that I think it is kind of weird to read your friends' books, because it's like, oh, I see where your problems with your father are right here.
For real.
I was not expecting to get this intimate view of you.
Yes. Well, I mean, the thing though is like you have to understand you should know yourself very well, so you can point to where you differ in your characters and give your characters realistic kind of grounds for diving into more the fantastical and absurd realm of situations. So
do you think that these authors, because I read It Ends With Us and I did not get the sense of, I didn't get any meaningful sense of self-awareness. I felt the same way when I read 50 Shades of Grey. I didn't sense any self-awareness from the author. Like, or at least from the character. I don't know. Maybe the author has to be self-aware in order to write characters that are so unself-aware and vapid and shallow and stupid. Maybe you'd have to be self-aware, but it seems like they were just accidentally telling on themselves. Like they were accidentally putting themselves in the story, you know?
A little backstory behind it, especially It Ends With Us.
Yeah.
The author of the book, her mother was in her father was an abuser. Right. So her mother was in an abusive relationship, and her mother left the relationship when she was young in order to kind of protect her daughter from this relationship so the cycle would not continue. And you see that in It Ends With Us, where she's trying to break this cycle of abuse. And that's kind of where the self-awareness comes from and Ends With Us.
the other thing, because it is traditionally published, there are at least 3 rounds of editors that go through that, and you will have less self-awareness with traditional publishers than you will with indie authors.
Yeah.
I mean, unless the indie authors have really good feedback, there are a few that have multiple editors and developmental editors that will catch stuff like that. So, and then, but I mean, like it kind of comes back to like how well do they know you then, and that they're looking for your personal flaws to be kind of like obscured from your writing.
Real quick, just to kind of distinguish, do you mean like 3 rounds of developmental editors?
3 individual editors usually. So because you have there are 3 main types of editors when you have editors.
Yeah.
So you have the developmental editor that helps with like storyline, plot development, pacing, and then you have the grammar one, which is like the line by line, and then you have more of a kind of like an overall proofreader, just catching out just the last little bit of things.
So you mean just like one of each, essentially?
Yeah.
Or okay. I thought
So
you meant like
more.
3 developmental editors.
Yeah. And some of that is to help, like I said, especially newer writers, or especially, trying to, it's kind of like in a way we have a lot more AI stuff now. It's kind of like explaining the word wicked to like boomers would say wicked and we would say awesome, and now we say neat or
Sick.
like what's a
Yeah.
yes yeah like,
Rad.
I don't think anyone's saying neat. I'll be honest with you.
well,
That
like,
might just be the
in terms of romance. So like Scarlett O'Hara with Gone with the Wind, she's talking about her beau, and now we have bae. So like a developmental editor would not mess that as much as like they have sensitivity readers for that too now, but it's like you would say, oh hey, you said beau here, so instead of beau you mean bae. And it's like, what's bae? And it's like, it's what all the cool kids are saying.
Do you know what it stands for?
What?
Before anything else.
Yeah, like I just thought it was people just cutting off the BY of like baby and changing the letters to be cool. No, I recently discovered that, and I'm like, that's so gross. Just
it'll wear out. The other virtue of technology is that trends tend to die very quickly.
Sure. Yeah. Well, here's the thing, Gal. Do you think that's gross because you don't have a bae, or do you think that's actually gross? What do you just fear intimacy? What's going on with that?
Are you a psychologist? Because I hate those.
I'm just a comedian.
Did you organize this whole thing just to ask her out on a date?
No. First of all, that's what the
DMs
are for.
I could tame her, take her to church sometimes.
It's just gross. I'm not a really big pet name person, and so like shortening it to be all cutesy, I'm not a cutesy person, so it's gross to me.
Does it make you cringe when you hear it?
Yes.
Okay. It does for me too. I hate like the dated, I hate like the new age jargon that, editors and sensitivity readers will try and like push into like the works that or into the projects that they're working on. Because that makes like that again, it goes back to the, the timely versus the timeless,
Yes.
That, when you put that dated language in there, I mean, it's like, it's, that also makes the themes worse. And you see it a lot with like the middle grade and YA fantasy. Like if you go to Barnes and Noble and you just pick one of those up and you just read the back of the books, you see it, and it makes you cringe. It makes you want to put it down. And
honestly, I was only talking about hearing it. If I see that in any sort of written work, I love books, and I never want to say this, but I would want to burn that book.
Yeah.
Like that is a visceral reaction that I have if I see that in literature.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about Tess of the D'Urbervilles. Just burn it.
They play, and not only that, they also play heavily into like the most popular trope. So the idea of like the quirky teenager has become super crazy popular in recent years. A lot of books, they will lean into that, like especially in the blurb.
It is a universally applicable thing, though.
It is. But like when you just crank it out generically, it's god awful and it drives people away. But yes, like that person, huh?
Smart people go away.
Yeah.
It's very self-congratulatory, I notice.
Well, it's a universal thing though, because when you look at a woman, you get ideas about her based on everything. Okay. And the more you get to know her, the more you're surprised to find out that she's different from who you expected. So she's not like other girls, and she's also not like the girl that you thought she was. So this transformation is wholly in your mind.
Yeah, I met a super hot girl one time who played Yu-Gi-Oh in middle school, and I was like, what the fuck?
Who are you?
That blew my brain, dude. I was like, hey, yo.
CJ is ambushing me with the mom talk on girls right now.
Well, I told Theo it's great to invite me to these things because I'm a hopeless romantic who actually has a knight in shining armor for a husband. And
okay, that's enough. We're done talking about how fucking happy you are. My audience is miserable, and I want them to like you so you can come back. So you're just going to go ahead and keep the rap
like,
that.
The whole point is, though, is like I can say, like, don't give up hope. Because just like I said, you see all these girls on TikTok, and I'm sure they're all messes. But if you really get to know them, there's something good there, and you can bring that out. Like even Theo was talking about last night about how so many of his sessions with like hardcore liberal feminists ends in hugs, because a lot of these women are starved for manly love, and yes, a lot of them project it onto this monster porn book kind of fetish stuff. There is a lot more, like I said, technology out there, and once you start into that kind of gateway, you will walk through a lot of terrible things before you decide you're ready to go home. But I mean, like, I had even, and let me assure you, okay, I was a feminist when I was a teenager. I did not have a great relationship with my father. We've only reconciled in recent years because he has dementia. And I've grown up and I've said, I need to honor my father and I need to forgive him for what I felt he did me wrong by. And that's a hard thing. As a woman, I took responsibility for that, and my husband, though, has had to deal with years now of some of this, the echoing backlash of, am I good enough? Am I doing enough? Am I supposed to do something else? Do I need to make more money? Do I need to please you more? Like those kinds of like little chips in my heart have been soothed over so many times by him. I think he is insulted every time I bring it up. But and we talk about those things and everything else, and it's very, very lovely. But it takes time and it takes really intentional effort, and it's really not fun all the time. But I mean, look what you get out of it. You get somebody that you can invite onto a podcast and shame everybody, and they'll thank me for it when I'm done, and they'll invite me back next week too.
I feel like she was talking to you, Theo.
Yeah, I was there, Cal. Thank you.
It's okay.
I was actually there for the whole thing. I heard everything. So you didn't need to narrate it for me. Is this just what you're like? Is this just what you're...
I'm sorry. Am I supposed to be a different way on camera?
No, this
versus...
is
okay.
No, I'm just shocked.
The more
I wonder how that happened.
I'm like, he probably did ask you here so he could invite you to his next show. So.
That's all right.
Anyway,
thank you, DJ. I actually don't need help from either of you, to be honest. Like, I'm actually fully able to navigate this on my own. It's episode 9 of the Touchgrad podcast, and I got through all of them without your help. Thank you. No, I appreciate it. God damn, you guys, chat. You see what I'm dealing with? F's in the chat for Theo's dignity for a second.
You're the one surrendering it, sir.
Called out. God damn. Thank you, BS Warren. Just at least you feel my pain. At least you have a fucking mask. I'm just out here fucking like face naked. Just dealing with this.
Aw, he's blushing. That's why he needs a mask.
I don't blush. I have autism.
Oh.
I'm protected. I am incapable of caring how you feel. That is my best trait.
He thinks he doth protesteth.
Hey, well, I don't remember anybody asking you actually. So
see, he's trying to make it seem like he's doing you a favor.
All right. This is how did I lose control of this panel? How did this happen?
You invited a bunch of women.
Fucking open rebellion. I never had this much trouble on the guys panel at all. They just fell in line.
Well, that's because, for what it's worth, that's because men are all in the same boat as you. It takes a long time to understand women, and women and men aren't actually able to understand each other very well without Jesus in the middle. So, and that's further reinforced even by J.D. Vance's quote unquote controversialness with talking about the order of loves. And this is actually I found it funny that he was talking about it the week where that meme went around about liberal women and liberal men about being unable to care for their personal circle of friends more than strangers.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He's
talking about how they had it reversed.
Yes. Well, part of the reason they have that reversed is because a lot of the people who are liberal have problems with their family. Your family is the source of your identity when you're born. I told my son this the other day. I'm like, I don't care if you don't like your name. I got to name you, and when you have kids, you get to name them. So that's the deal. You want to name something, you go get married and have a job and graduate high school and have a kid. Yep.
Buy a tarantula. Name that.
Yes. Well, I mean, but the formation of your identity begins with your family, and the rejection of your family, or even the rejection of Americanism. Like, oh, we should feel ashamed about America in general because of the atrocities that we kind of inherited as our legacy. This is ridiculous, first of all, because we didn't personally commit these things and we're not in support of them. And then second of all, the legacy that you inherit doesn't have to be the one that you leave behind. We have a lot of opportunity to change that and do a lot of good. And other countries do not have those opportunities. So there's no reason to feel shame.
Okay. Hold on. A couple of things. I want to call a quick time out.
Yep.
I want to call it out. Guys, we have a female viewer. Hey!
Oh.
W's in the chat for having one female audience member. This might be my first one. Excellent. W's in the chat, fellas. Tell her we're happy she's here. All right. Second of all, okay, this idea of legacy is interesting because a society that hates its ancestors actually hates itself, right? And I think the way that a lot of people are responding to that is by having like vapid, shallow lives where they pursue short-term gain. They don't have kids. They spend all their money on dumb bullshit and they vape and smoke weed and eat fast food all day. And I think, and they fucking indulge in either internet pornography or fucking smut books, you know, to try to check out. And I think a lot of times these are like, I think one of the reasons this has to be so socially engrossing for women to get involved in, like I'm saying, they have to have a whole toxic relationship with this guy just to get horny. It seems exhausting, you know? I get it. Like, and I think that's because the existential bleakness of life now is so much harder on women because they have the ability to feel so many different and competing complex anxieties and fears simultaneously, you know? So it needs to be sort of like more engrossing. And that's why it's getting grosser and more violent too, is because they have this like need for an escalating stimulus, just like guys need grosser and grosser porn just to feel something. You see what I'm saying? Am I onto something? Panel discuss.
There's something to that. The stimulus has to become more powerful to achieve the similar results if you're exposed to it too many times.
Yeah.
Which is why I drank 6 cans of Dr. Pepper Zero this morning instead of 4. So.
Dude, that's, you might want to get that looked at.
Soda in a long time.
Might want to.
That just blew my mind. So,
dude,
I have 2 kids, so I'm done for the day, but still.
Yeah.
Oh. You can see this in drug use though too, like on a marijuana gateway drug kind of appeal. Everybody's happy we legalized weed, right? Except for the people that told you it would be a bad idea.
No, I'm not as happy as I thought I'd be, to be honest with you.
Yes.
I thought, yeah, I don't know, but
yes,
You're also out in like
700 Club in the
Oregon,
90s is right. Well, Pat Robertson's dancing on his grave.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay, so I do want to. So if you're right, okay, so if you're a man growing up in the post Me Too era, where like I think it's something half of men ages 18 to 25 have never approached a woman and asked a woman out on a date, and you're just like fucking petrified. But you see that the women you would potentially ask out are fantasizing about men who are assertive to the point of being violent, right? So there's clearly like a desire for assertive men to emerge, right? I guess like I read that as like men need to just start doing shit, you know, just start doing shit, not murdering, but you see what I'm saying? Like,
thank you for clarifying that.
Like, even if you're like 20% more assertive than the average guy, you're going to fucking steamroll the competition in this fucking pussified world where everybody's like fat and zonked out on weed and porn. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. The other half is hooked up to the internet 24/7, and it'll be up with Neuralink in 10 years. So
yeah, so it's like
a cyborg and a weed head.
This is what I'm saying. So like, okay, so women don't want to like. I talk to women a lot, and it's like they don't want to date. Like when I suggest that men should quit porn, overwhelmingly the response I get is positive, right? But what they say to me is, yeah, of course I don't want to date a guy that's addicted to porn, but I don't really have a choice, you know? So I'm going to read my porn books and he's going to have his OnlyFans subscription and we're going to somehow negotiate a relationship out of that, even though I have a parasocial relationship with men in books and he has a parasocial relationship with an online prostitute. Somehow we're going to negotiate a marriage that makes sense out of that. And it's like, I don't fucking see that happening.
That's,
you know,
it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
Well, the other side of it is that women can say, yes, I am not going to stand for this. and do the, walk the walk. I'm not going to have this. So
Sure.
part of the reason that I've read romantasy things, including 50 Shades of Grey, is that I have to explain to other people like why they're not good and what is attractive about them to other people.
You
That's,
almost called them something derogatory, didn't you? I heard that.
Well, I mean, like there is some element of truth hidden even in the most poop covered crap ball ever. So, and the truth is that women want confident men. Confidence leads to assertiveness, and then assertiveness that's unchecked leads to violence. Right. So these are damaged men that women quote unquote fix in these books. Okay, they're not meant to stay that way. They're meant to begin that way so the woman can fix them. But women don't fix men; they tame them. They are kind of like the bridle to the horse, or the neck to the face, right? Quoting the Big Fat Greek Wedding movie. We have a duty to use the good power that men have to benefit our children and ourselves, and a lot of that is protection. We want a man who's capable of violence to protect us. We don't want a man doing violent things all the time just because he can. We want a wise man then who is good at delineating when he should be violent and when he should not be violent, and when mercy is the better option between mercy and justice.
That's why I hate that phraseology in general. I can fix him, because it instantly creates this image that he's broken instead of just needing help.
Well, we're all broken.
Exactly. And I don't know, like fixing it is a very negative way to look at it. I like the taming. Because you're supposed to be in this together, not as separate entities that are near each other.
Right.
And implying that he needs to be fixed rather than assisted or tamed, as it were. Just to me, it's like I mentioned earlier, it's gross, because I don't know. You're supposed to balance each other out.
Yes, but your vices are not supposed to be complementary. Your vices are supposed to be complementary with your virtues. And that's why women need to say, no, you are not watching porn anymore. Okay, all your sexual.
I don't think this gonna work. I'll be honest with you. I don't think nagging is effective. I disagree completely. I think it's no. I think the responsibility is on men. I don't think women can. I don't think white feather campaigns are going to force the kind of changes you're talking about. I think it's going to be on men to be more responsible. Like men have to step up and set the standard, and then women are going to get on the same page. I think it has to come from the men first. I don't know if y'all have that kind of influence.
It's a team effort, and you'll be surprised at how many times when women saying something, because it is so prolific in our society, you have to point out, hey, porn isn't actually good for women. It makes them into sex doll meat bags, and it dehumanizes them. Even and a lot of, have you seen some of the follow-ups to the porn industry stars? A lot of them kill themselves. A lot of them are on drugs. Very, very few of them feel good about everything that they've done and would do it all again.
Yeah, I know a lot of OFans girls and girls who used to cam and girls who are in the industry. Just from the life experiences that I've had, I've gotten to know a lot of them personally, and usually they had a really tough time before. They had a really tough time during, and a lot of bad stuff happened. And even if they felt like they were empowered or whatever, even though they were making money at the time, usually it's not worth the price, and it takes them years to unpack the stuff that happened. Like I knew a girl in San Diego who started camming at 14, and there was just no age gating to stop her from doing that. She just started making content at 14, and there was nothing. And she had grown men who were married to adult women, presumably, who were engaging with her on this. Like the sex industry is the adult film industry is really, really vile. Stuff that it's doing.
Porn is a net negative for society. People say, "Oh, but I've used it and it benefited us," and it's like it's still a net negative to overall. You might be an exception that proves the rule, but that's not to say that there are other methods that you could have used to fix whatever you were trying to fix with it.
Yeah, it prevents. I think it gets in the way of some of the necessary corrective stuff that you're talking. That's one of the reasons women don't have the kind of leverage that they could otherwise, is because of porn. Like men, like it's so much easier now for men to just check out, and I think that's making women. They're compensating for that by being more desperate, more shrill, more feminist, and more insistent that men get mine, which is weird. Which is weird. Okay, so this is weird. So I did a show recently, and I talked to this girl who was, I tell this story a few times on streams. In some ways, she was everything wrong with society. She was former OnlyFans girl, current receptionist at Planned Parenthood. She was obese. She was entitled. She was rude. And we had a conversation, and I told her explicitly what I thought. I didn't sugarcoat it at all. I didn't dodge. You know, I had a long conversation with her. And during that conversation, she and her friend both confirmed that it's like, yeah, it's really hard to date liberal men. To use their exact words, they said, liberal men are gay. That's what they said. Like, they just can't, they know on some level, if you actually spend the time to, and you don't try to yell at them, you just kind of let them tease it out themselves and ask them a couple of Socratic questions, they'll eventually realize that their way of looking at the world is making them unhappy, right?
Liberalism at its heart, for what it's worth, is a fundamental rejection that you believe that you have any responsibility for the world state.
Yeah, that was what it was. That really embodies her philosophy perfectly. She was like, I should get everything I want. The fact that I haven't gotten everything I want is an outrage. I should face no consequences for my behavior. And the fact that I have to wait for anything is a crime against humanity that should be investigated by the United Nations. That was like her orientation towards life. And even, by the way, even with all of that, we still had a great conversation. We still made a human connection. And she said she couldn't wait to come to the next show. Gave me a big hug on the way out the door. And by the way, I told her exactly what I thought of her. She said, I used to do OnlyFans, but we don't slut shame here. And I was like, I fucking do. What do you mean?
Timeline. I know you do.
Yeah. You see. Like you follow me on Twitter. I told her exactly what I thought about the world. And I tell you what, man, it was like her and like 3 or 4 of her friends that I was kind of like debating all at the same time. And they were not ready.
Podcast session.
Yeah. I really should have kept the cameras rolling for this, but yeah, it was badass to kind of like tease that out with them. Cause I got to the bottom of it and I was like, oh, like if these girls were presented with competent, masculine, affection that didn't come in the form of I wasn't cussing at them. I wasn't calling them names. I wasn't being unkind. I was just refusing to go with them when they would say things that contradicted reality, and I was just being reasonable and insisting on being reasonable. And I wasn't backing down just because they were emotional. And when they would do something like they would use a personal example to make a point, I would be like, okay, but that's not reflective of the general trend. And they would say, general trend, what's that? And I would kind of like sit with them and like patiently. And I realized I asked them this, I was like, okay, I think if every day when you left your house, if every day you saw strong, competent, capable men who were hard at work building society, who were polite to you, you wouldn't be feminist, would you? And they were like, no, probably not. I'm like, right. If you felt like you could trust men, you wouldn't have all this. I think the big source of this anxiety is women feel like their trust in men has been undermined and compromised. Some of that is a deliberate psyop, and some of it is
a rejection of their identity as part of their family and the way they grew up and the culture around them. Like when I say that liberalism is a rejection of personal responsibility, for anything that you're dealt with, some things you can't control. I can't control the fact that I have to live with Americans, experiments on the Tuskegee Airmen, for example. But I can still work there's no changing that. So it's I can still work to make things better. And if I do that, that's better than saying, doubling down and saying, oh, let's do some more, So
liberalism is a lot of really, really wanting the good in the world to spread without putting the work in to make it happen.
Yes.
And I say this as someone that used to be very liberal. Like I still had a lot of conservative values, but I definitely leaned more liberal when I was younger. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that it was much easier to not have to read the articles when the title is so controversial, or it leans, or I could check something really easily by seeing if there's a Snopes article on it. That's how I kind of used to live. I was just like, come on, guys, this is obviously a conspiracy theory. Didn't you just do a simple Google? I don't even call it go Google something, go search for it online. That's how, like, there was a certain change in my mindset with things where I was just, okay, that's not how things happen in the world. And like I was even thinking these things when I was still in the Marines, like being liberal minded. But also at the same time, there was just kind of like a contradiction within myself that I was fighting against. So luckily my conservative upbringing was still there within me. And I just grew as a person as I actually experienced the real world, the further I got into the Marines. And then when I got out of the Marines and saw the way civilians were, it was just a completely different worldview where I was, oh, okay, I need to actually put some work in and research these things. Whereas, and that's when I just went back to my roots, essentially. Yeah. And liberals don't, if you don't have a conservative upbringing, I'm not saying it's not impossible to understand things. It's easier to fall back to those roots if you do. But like, if you're raised in liberal type of areas, you're not going to see a lot of that hard work. Like you get out what you put in.
Right.
To it. And it's just like, well, no, you're fine. Like I was basically done. It's just, I want to compare it to, like, I live in like the Denver metro area in Colorado, but I was raised in rural. And so I see those differences, and it's just a shining light on people's mindsets. Like if you're raised in the city and all you see is the easiest access to everything, you don't have to work for it the same way that driving 11 miles plus just to get groceries does, versus just, oh, it's right down the street, I can walk there and bring it home. It's easy versus difficult. I don't know. I'm rambling
and
now.
some part of that is just because you're young and you see, like, people give you things when you're young that you will never have to worry about until you're an adult. Like my kids are at that age where they want a phone, and I'm like, no, you're not getting a phone. You're not getting a phone until you get a job, because you got to pay for that phone. You know, and like even like one of the most eye-opening experiences that I had when I was young was traveling, because the way that you see those things, like Al is talking about, you see the differences between the rural and the urban. You see just different kinds of cultures in general. And like one of my favorite travels, I went to Japan for 3 weeks, and when I was 17, and I saw a lot of big differences there, but there's still this like universal cry for somebody to come along and fix its brokenness. And it expresses itself in different ways in different cultures. And I think that's part of the reason why I really like romance literature in that sense, is because you're ultimately coming face to face with a character, and they're coming together with another character. And these two people are technically supposed to be really alien to you. They're different enough that you can appreciate it, but they're the same enough that you can also relate to them. And that's why I think romance, when we talk about romance and not the porn books, we're talking about a way to understand ourselves better. Literature has always been the window into another person's soul. And whether they're real or they're true or they're fake or not, you lose yourself to find yourself. There, you can see what's wrong with this person in the book, obviously, and you can reflect that back on yourself and say, hey, do I have any of those problems? And it's like, maybe I do, maybe I don't. That's why, like I said, I was able to identify with Katniss, not having like a real emotionally engaged father. My father had severe depression when I was growing up, for context. And having had severe depression myself later on, I kind of understood it a lot better. And that really helped us like weirdly connect. And then in the end, I ended up being grateful for it, that he kind of like shut down, because when I get depressed really bad, I get angry and I like to shout at things. And it's and that's very different from what he did. And I'm very grateful that he actually didn't start shouting and screaming and everything. So that's something, like I said, that translates into like finding like a life experience and growing into yourself.
Right.
And then literature serving as kind of like an inoculation to those similar things, like Katniss having trauma over the loss of her father and the depression of her mother and the, like I said, the overprotectiveness towards her sister. So I like the Hunger Games. I don't like that she keeps writing the sequels though.
So I like the first book, and I kind of just wish it was a solitary thing. I just didn't like my brother. He read the rest of them and told me some of the things that happened in it, and I was like, I'm really glad I stopped where I did. I didn't like the movies like at all.
No, the movie sucked. So
Yeah.
They were awful.
I know we
first
talked
movie-
earlier on about translating things from the screen
Mhm.
from the book to the screen from the book. I'll say I've done my own translations with when I started writing my comic book series, and I actually had to write one of my books into a play. It is very different, but you can still do it faithfully and not like all these retarded screenwriters that are like Nepto babies from Gen Z that
Yeah.
are
I also-
getting jobs.
I hate the Harry Potter movies, and one of the main reasons.
It's Hermione.
Oh my god. I was actually just going to bring up one specific thing. And so when the first one came out, I don't even remember what year it was. I had a very angry response to the fact that she punched Draco Malfoy instead of slapping him. And I don't even know how old I was, but I saw it at that time. I was just like, she's a girl. Her punch isn't going to do anything. It's okay for girls to slap dudes. And I was solid in my, if I were growing up right now, I would be transitioned tomboy phase. Like I was deep seated into my own tomboy phase, and I still was pissed at that, and I didn't have any foresight into like what it was leading up to. But that like looking back on it now with hindsight, I'm like, it's things like that that have brought us to where we are in modern times. It's okay. She slapped him in the book. She did not punch him. It's okay for her to slap him. It made me so mad. I remember being so mad at that. There's so much more wrong with those movies.
No,
But
from the as someone who's been slapped by women numerous times, I can tell you why that's more effective. First of all, you got little noodle arms. Your punches don't do anything, but the slap hurts emotionally. It's
Protect your soul.
Yeah, it's it's like you're not really trying to hurt us physically. You're trying to bestow shame.
Right.
Like, you have fallen short of your masculine duty, and I'm gonna shame you. So that slap, it hits here, but it really hits here in the heart region. That's where it comes from.
Precision type of
Yeah.
At the same time, a slap has like a stinging effect that lingers longer than a punch can.
Sure.
As well.
Yeah.
And it kind of goes towards that same thing where it's just going to be a constant reminder until that stinging, stubbing of your toe feeling goes away, but it just seems to last forever. The slap is art.
Yeah. Honestly, my big concern for the future when it comes to men and women is like you have the 3 before 30 kind of marriage, like trend that's on the rise, like the homemaker and the homesteaders and everything. And it's like I don't think a lot of men are actually prepared to be good fathers. And I don't think women romanticize the idea of being a mother. I understand the liberal feminists a little bit more than I'd like to admit. It is very hard for me to have a career of my own and do my own thing. My husband supports my writing, and I'm very happy that he's supportive of it. But my children are not. My mom, mommy is mine. Mommy doesn't get to share things with other people and have adult time. So it is very different from what the media sometimes portrays it as, but it's not the like mutant hellscape that other people portray it as either. So there are genuinely good women that I've met through my children that I am very grateful to be friends with.
What's that like? I have Selena.
I think the other thing, what part of the reason that I will argue for romance books too is because there is this generational gap on some level between our history. The communists invented, like the removal of civics. Again, this comes back to the education system, the dumbing down. You have a large portion of women who have not connected to their family identity, and they're trying to basically build the empire of themselves up from history. And this causes a lot of, and you have a lot of more absent mothers too. And the reason I kind of like romance books is that they help women understand themselves, and they help like grow you in areas that if you don't have a particular mentor or a good mother to like lead you through it, it can be really hard not to have some kind of support. It's not a great fix. Let's put it like that. It is the aspirin to a gaping wound, and if you take too much aspirin, it will kill you. So that's one of my famous lines about feminism. Feminism is like Tylenol. Too much will kill you, but a little bit might make you feel better. So.
What's funny is I never once in my life have ever called myself a feminist. And like I said, I had liberal beliefs when I was younger. And people would like accuse me of that, or like jokingly when I learned what a TERF was. Like I laugh at that. And my response younger, before TERF was a thing, was always, I literally cannot be a feminist because I hate women.
Well, see, that goes into what I said earlier. A large portion of women who are based today understand that women are capable of doing terrible things and being terrible people. And we recognize that better than most people. And I think that leads to some of our more misogynist comments about the worst. And like, you don't want to be known like as the worst of anything. Like a lot of the books that Theo has mentioned about romance and smut, those are like the worst possible ones you could probably pick.
They're also some of the most popular.
That's a bit like part of the reason that they're popular is because they have a lot of provocative things in it. And I don't mean like the sex parts. I mean like the BDSM is a very niche category still. Okay. And you'll find more people going into it to discover it than people enjoying it because
here's the thing. I got to push back on you. I don't know how much how much you've been in the streets. I don't know how much casual sex you've been having, but I tell you what, man, it seems to be pretty damn popular. It seems to be damn near everybody. Right.
But see, a lot of people read it because they were curious about it. More people read it because they were curious about it than they actually did it. A lot of the people who actually read it and were in it before have said, this book sucks.
Yeah, there's actually
that's how Sylvia Day actually became the BDSM author that typically gets the better reviews.
No, that's true too. That's true too. I will say, that's the BDSM as represented in 50 Shades of Grey is widely disparaged by the community at large. But there's also like a lot of people who are experimenting with BDSM acts are not doing it from inside the community. They're just like, that sounds like fun. I'm going to do something wild and dangerous. And it's like damn near everybody. And then what's crazy about it is they're doing it with strangers. Like the amount of trust that women have had in me not to murder them. I mean, I appreciate it. Like, I appreciate that I have good, like, non-murderous vibes, but like, bro, like if I do this for 3 more seconds, you're dead.
Right.
And you don't know me at all. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I will say also when you're able to, when the author gets creative with how they work some of the gratuitous content, that there's a degree to which that helps it sell easily, and that's what reels people in. There's a really good example of that with it's an enemies to lover kind of psychological-esque romance. It's called Does It Hurt? There's this one scene that everybody on TikTok talks about where the girl is getting dogged from behind by this guy that wants to kill her. And he's trying at the same time that he's dogging her, he is trying to drown her in shark infested waters because they're like trapped on an island with a lighthouse together. Like it's super dark, but because
sounds
that
hot.
but because that one scene is just so out there and just so crazy, it's just like, what? And so you pick it up and it's, that makes it, to a certain degree easy to advertise. When you have something that stands out like that helps, that reels people in, especially when you play into the morbid curiosity.
Well, and a lot of that is fantastical in its creative approach, I guess. And what I mean by that is like, one of my biggest criticisms of video games, because I hate video games because they cause a lot of violence. I grew up in the 90s. Is that men who indulge in overstimulation with video games tend to treat women differently. And you have to be kind of like prepared for that on some level. So The
Can you say more about that?
just like a lot of part of it is objectification, dehumanization by like it's almost like death by 1,000 paper cuts on some level.
Sure.
It is like a growing concern that I've noted.
Let me ask you something. How much of that? Okay, because the people who are avid consumers of video games are also avid consumers of pornography and avid consumers of streaming television and avid consumers of anime and stuff. So it's like, how do you isolate the variable in that situation?
The interactivity of it.
Okay, so you think the interactivity is what?
I have had multiple men explain to me that video games are good because they give you strategy and you have options and you can develop the more like mental side of your brain with
Sure.
them.
We can assume all that is true, and also your point can be true that it makes, or that it, I guess, that it causes men to treat women worse. I guess is that about right? Is that a good summation? Oh, she's gone. Okay.
Yep, no, it's okay. I'm here. Give me one sec. But
it's like, I don't know. BS Warren, are you an avid consumer of video games?
I am, yes, and I was
Shame on you, you abuser of women.
No, this
How
is
dare
actually,
you?
This is actually going to be a little bit funny. I played like a crap ton of Planet Zoo, so I'm kind of like, how does Planet Zoo desensitize me to women? Is it
when's the last time you've been rejected? That's what I want to know.
Huh?
Yeah.
By a real woman. When was the last time you approached a real woman and asked for a date? And she said no.
Oh shit. Okay, this is going
like in person.
I haven't done the
thing about media, and this is my big problem with the added to the complex problem of men and women in media is that we live so much of our lives through screens and through technology that you are desensitized to the actual like soul of a human being. And so when you face rejection, it's a lot harder to go and understand that you're going to feel bad and humiliated if she says no. And a large portion of like for my son, I train him when we do like fundraisers, we go around the neighborhood and I said, here's your speech, give it to them. And if they say no, you don't take it personally. Okay. This is a sales pitch. Everything is opening a door to possibilities. Right now we're asking for money. When you go to women, you're asking for their time. Okay. And, I will be spying on you in the corner of the coffee shop too. So okay, because I'm a good mom. Okay, with the rise of technology is that we have a lot more violence against women in general, just because there is this level of desensitization towards, like I said, the human soul.
More as compared to which period?
And this is clear even in the 90s. There's a lot more sex in like 90s to early aughts type of movies than there is nowadays. A lot more has been sanitized because people don't want to kind of come to the point where they have to acknowledge, oh, you need other human beings. And
no, to be clear, are you talking about media violence or are you talking about real world violence?
There's a correlation.
Okay,
So,
yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. It's like well, in like the mid 19th century, I would venture to say there's more because you could because some women were property, right? So I would venture to say there's a lot more violence against and dehumanization of women, and there were no video games, right? So I'm trying to clarify that
I'm talking about like post-Victorian era. Yes, there's a lot of hypocrisy in the Victorian era, but the fact that we don't even pledge certain like we have conversations about the depth of chivalry, for example.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
And mannerisms and the routines and the proper channels to go through things. Like after World War I, you see the soul of Europe is just kind of devastated, and along with that, there was a big cratering in terms of like the relationships between men and women. And
okay, so yeah, that ties into something I want to bring it around because you kind of hung my buddy BS Warren out to dry, and now he's hiding his face in shame. Here's the thing: like there is a tremendous cost.
No, I have to go to the bathroom. Okay,
all right, that's okay, buddy. It's okay, buddy. I got you back
right now. Okay,
I got you back. Listen. There is a tremendous cost. You have to have delusional confidence to overcome the fear of rejection, and rejection does suck, obviously. But we also live in a culture. two
Well, like,
things. Hold on.
it's
Hold on.
resilience,
Hold on.
so
Hold
it's
on.
just
We got.
resilience. There's
Hold on.
difference.
Hold on. We got two things, right? That factor into that. One. The juice isn't worth the squeeze. So if he does overcome the fear of rejection and he gets rejected, there's one. Actually, the first point I want to make is this: we have a cultural narrative where getting rejected is sort of means you're a creep, which means you're a sex pest, right?
Yes.
So men have to overcome the presupposition of them being a sex pest, right? Which is pretty, challenging, at least for men of quality. Secondly, if they do overcome the rejection, if they do get the date, what
Yes.
do they get out of that? And the reality is, I think a lot of men are going to find themselves on a date with a vapid, shallow woman who's never given a moment's thought to another person's feelings. Right.
Okay.
So there's two things to overcome here. You've got the creep presupposition and the juice ain't worth the squeeze. So I don't blame BS Ward for staying home and playing Zoophilia or whatever he said that game was called.
The other side of that though is this is where I bring my daughter into it, right? I've told her that you respect the man, and even if you reject him.
Yeah.
So, thank you for asking, but I'm not available.
Respectfully, CJ, I ain't dealing with your daughter. I'm not here dealing with these motherless bitches who fucking don't respect me at all. That's who we're dealing with, like in a day-to-day. Like I'm very, 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 so I talk to women all the time. I am very selective with who I invite to spend more time with me, because 90% of the time they disqualify themselves in the first 10 minutes of talking to them. Almost always.
And some of that is kind of like house hunting. Like you can work with a few flaws, okay, or you can work around a few flaws or broken things.
I know these houses are on fire, CJ. You just don't know what it's like in these streets. You've been out the game too long. You just don't know what it's like out there. I'm telling you.
See, this is the other thing that I was like very objectionable yesterday when you guys were talking about where to meet girls. Is like you really should be looking where you're serving. Okay, like long term, what do you want out of life?
When was the last time you found a wife?
I don't need to find a wife. Thank you.
I know. But what I'm saying is I don't know if you're as good at giving advice on this subject as you think you are. Like it's kind of like asking a fisherman how to catch fish instead of asking a fisherman. You see what I'm saying?
No.
Okay. Well, if you want to catch a fish, you ask a fisherman, right? Fish don't know how it. Fish only knows how it got caught. Fish don't know how to catch fish. See what I'm saying?
But see, like I'm talking about like bait and positioning here. Okay.
Okay.
Like,
go nuts. Go off, Queen.
Yes. Well, I mean, like, what are your goals long term? A woman needs a confident man. Okay. And if you are confident, you will take care of yourself. You will look nice. You will keep clean. You will wear nice clothes. You will be approachable. You will have a good sense of humor because you're not so confident that your ego can't take a bit of a beating. Okay. Then where are you serving? Your confidence is going to be rooted in what you believe you are capable of and what you want to build for your life. Okay. For example, like, I met my husband at college. Okay. And I knew what I wanted to do. Yes, I know.
That by itself is disqualifying you from this discussion. You're all talking about theory now. You don't have any real world application.
Where are you meeting these what did you call house fire women?
Mostly I meet them, they're drunk in dive bars on weeknights usually is where I'm
there you go.
That's where the comedy is. I'm out here building my empire. I'm doing what she's saying to do. I'm following your advice. This is your fault.
You're going into those places to build your empire for money. Okay. You're basically being a mercenary in that territory. You're not there to establish anything. Your kingdom is outside of that kingdom. You should not be going there for a queen. Okay.
Well, but I don't leave my house for shit else. Like it's just like I work on comedy 80 hours a week.
The big Catholic man in our barroom group. Like why?
Yeah, have you seen the girls at church lately?
What about
they got big they either got big homeschool energy or they got 6 babies already. For real. That's who's out there. So I'm saying
they have friends.
Don't know what you're talking about. And also, you don't understand the degree to which
vetted by some women sometimes.
I know, I understand that, but you also don't understand what the price men have to pay for confidence. Like I was talking about this to the OnlyFans girl, right, at my show, because she was telling me, she asked me if I was intimidated by her, and I was like, honey, no, that's just what women say when they're unlikable. No, I'm not intimidated by you. You're just difficult to be around because your personality sucks. And she was like, oh, like she was disappointed that I wasn't intimidated. But I'm like, sweetheart, you don't know what I had to do to get your attention. Like I had to put on a comedy show with money I made doing comedy. I had to be homeless for that to happen. Like I had to die like emotionally in front of like thousands of rooms for years to be good enough at comedy that anyone would want to give me money. You know, and then now I'm captivating you. All she had to do was show up on time in a low cut shirt, and she didn't even show up on time. That's how she got my attention, right? And there's no appreciation for the amount of sacrifice it took just for me to get a shot with this house fire OnlyFans whore, right? Like that's what I had to do to get that opening, right? And it was this is what I'm saying when I say the juice isn't worth the squeeze. Like a lot of the stuff out there, like finding an exceptional woman is a tremendous amount of work. And I think because you got to be a man that a woman would want to be with. And then you got to filter through like 800 pounds of horse shit to like find like
oh my gosh, buried treasure is not like right in front of your face all the time. Oh my gosh.
I know, but there's like none of it. There's like, it's so vanishingly rare. Like this is like, you got to have an appreciation for how excruciating this process has become. You know, like, I mean, I just feel like the way women are like, just be confident is like just so, I think, dismissive of the reality that like men are going through, especially when they're dealing with a culture that is giving them just like a steady, like a fire hose of derogatory bullshit, you know?
Yes. That does tie into the propaganda of a lot of the porn books. Okay, but on a personal level, okay, I do understand what it takes for men. Okay, I am raising a son and a daughter, and I have to be the one that prepares them for both of those ends. Okay, I know it's hard. I know that there are very few women that I will approve of. You know, I actually make the joke like, you know, your father picked a real piece of work. You know, like I don't actually want to see what you bring home. You know, and some of that is it is traumatizing. It is traumatizing to think, how am I ever going to get what I want? But the thing is that you do want something. You do want something lasting. You want a queen for your kingdom. You want a mother to your children. You want a legacy that you can entrust in this small vassal of time that you've been blessed with.
Okay, I would like to interject.
Go ahead. Go off, Queen.
And completely and totally reject the premise that video games are making men disrespectful towards women. As a woman who consumes video games and is surrounded by men who avidly consume video games, they are some of the most respectful men I've met in my life. I've been surrounded by men practically my entire life. As a Marine, it's a 20-to-1 ratio. I've been calmly trying to get my thoughts together, and as I'm speaking, my heart is racing. No,
it's okay. This is actually the other point that people hate talking to me about. So
correlation is not causation.
Yes,
and everything in moderation.
Yes,
can be successful. I'm not saying that 24/7 men playing video games is advisable. And there are bad eggs in every situation. And a lot of what you have been saying is hyper focusing on those bad eggs. And those can be found in jocks and nerds and neither of those premises. So I do not appreciate
culture around it.
The generalizations that have taken place. And I feel I do have to defend my friends in that instance.
That's great. I appreciate that. And I acknowledge that not all men are like that for sure. I'm just saying that you're constantly swamped in this virtual landscape and reality has dulled a bit by comparison. It's like that scene in Futurama where Fry's like, why would I go outside to experience the real world? This is HD TV. I have better resolution than the real world.
No, I agree with you on that. Like I keep one of the things I say all the time on my show is, guys, there's girls outside. You could just go out and like there's stuff out there and it's nice. And I know I talk a lot of shit about women, but the reality is I do meet cool chicks all the time. But I go out almost every single day of my life, I'm like outside and putting myself in a situation where I'm encountering strangers. So I meet a lot of people.
Yeah.
And there are cool people out there, but I don't know. I agree with.
I think that what I mean by the media, like the media swamping too, is it's not just a desensitization towards like sexual violence or violence in general. It's more like your job is to be my helper, and your job is to make me feel good, and your job is to make me feel happy. That's not actually a job of a wife. So your wife is your helpmate.
Sure. I mean, I understand that, but don't you? I think men and women are both being inundated with the message that your job is to sit there like a bump on a log, and your partner's job is to make all of your feelings be good all the time.
Right.
Like, right. I think
this is like a parallel for porn books.
Yeah, I think that's both. It's a both and situation. I think the problem with video games, I think, is it as a man, it makes you feel like you're accomplishing something when you're not. I think that's how it fucks it up. And you're acquiring skills that aren't transferable necessarily. So even between games, sometimes the skills aren't transferable. Like, to me, that's the problem. I'll have to sit with that games make men disrespectful of women idea. I'll have to sit with that for a while to decide what I think about it. But
there's a dehumanization kind of process to it in general. They've actually come like, this is similar to like there's a study a while ago about talking about how like all the Siri and the Cortana and the different like AI voices that you would use on your phones were causing men to hate women more. It was a while ago, but I think it was like 2017 when I saw that, and I was like, that's interesting. I wonder if it's because
I think it's women's behavior that's causing men to hate women more. It's just observing their thoughts and actions.
Well,
that's what's causing it.
I will confess, I didn't like college at all. So about pretty much all the women on my college campus, I was like, ugh.
Well, like I went to college. I didn't go to college to find a husband. I went for my education. I wanted to be a teacher. So finding my husband there was kind of like a secondary kind of benefit out of it.
Hold on. I heard some curiosity. What's going on?
I'm curious how you feel about movies and so like the original James Bond movies and the way that that women are treated by James Bond, and how much that has influenced men towards being disrespectful to women.
Oh, I mean,
the same vein as video games
for himself, I think. So
sorry.
The rise of Hugh Hefner in the porn industry, I think, speaks for itself out of that kind of outstretch. So, the thing is, like, and what I mean by like the media consumption is that, like, when I love this example, so I'm gonna give it real quick, okay? But like when I was a little girl, I liked horses a lot. Okay.
That explains so much.
Right, yeah.
Okay, I get what's going on now.
When my kids came along, the thing for girls was unicorns. Okay, now horses and unicorns are very similar. Okay, but a horse is a real living, breathing thing that smells awful, that will poop on you, and that you have to stay like 4 feet away unless they know that you're there all the time, and you have to be trained to handle them properly. Okay?
Also, it costs thousands of dollars to feed and house them.
Yes. Okay. So like these are real things that I liked. These are real things. Unicorns are not real, except in Scotland, I guess, in North Korea maybe. But like they're not really real. I can't go to a zoo and see one. I can't ride one. I can't cut off somebody's horn and grind it up and use it to make an eternal elixir for, immortality. I don't know. Okay. The thing is like there's so much fantasy that, like, on top of being divorced from like family and identity and history, you're also being pummeled with this idealized fantasy of a real, perfect, utopian sort of possibility of life. And it's not like that. So when men come to women and women come to men and women realize, oh my gosh, you're not my hero. My hero would totally affirm everything that I say in this moment and not hold me accountable for this. And then the men come to the women and they say, what do you mean you're not you're not willing to share my bed with me and my 4 other paramours? These elements of fantasy, and James Bond is a spy fantasy to the point where it's not the typical male. It's not the typical male like journey as far as like like real life goals. Like those aren't really men's real goals long term usually. So I do know I'm being watched by like probably 3 or 4 different CIA agents who would disagree with me. But those things can affect how you perceive reality. And like the thing about fantasy though is like at the heart of fantasy is you have to understand reality very, very well. And you have to be able to call out those exceptions. I think the blurring of the lines has led to so much detriment between the sexes.
And I think the reason you single out video games, just to circle back, is because of the interactive component.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. I don't know, because like my big bugaboo is porn, and I know that all these men who are avidly consuming video games that you're talking about disrespecting women are also avidly consuming porn. And to me, it would be really hard. It's really hard for me to come with you across this bridge and leave the disrespect of women, assuming we can quantify that and assuming that it exists, which we haven't litigated that, but let's assume that it does. Okay. It's really hard for me to lay that at the feet of video games when there's probably a perfect overlap of like avid porn consumption with this avid video game consumption.
Well, I mean, you do see that. You see a lot more, like I said, like we talked about this too, and with 50 Shades of Grey and Game of Thrones, you see a lot more mainstreaming of the topic and the culture and the concern. And but nothing's really being done to like stead the tide of all the smut and the sludge and the
that's us. It's touch grass, guys. We're stemming the tide. We're the dam holding the culture together. It's you guys. I mean,
like, it becomes a mother's job eventually to filter this out and explain, hey, you can't go on the internet because people put naughty pictures of themselves up there and they think it's free expression.
I know, but do you really think nagging is the solution? Do you really think nagging is the solution?
Parenting is one of the biggest solutions. Okay. You know, parents 100%. And this is something, you know, I love my parents to death. You know, they didn't really have a grasp on just how much the internet connected everything. And they didn't understand how deep the internet goes and how much your child can see if you let them just roam free. So it's really, thank you. It is really important to monitor your kids' like internet use and keep an eye on what they're looking at online.
I will say it's not always so back to the TikTok thing that we were discussing earlier, right? Right. So the book talk girlies that you see online, there have been books that have been advertised for my daughter, my daughter's age group that are not, or even my niece who's a little older, that are not age appropriate. So for Easter, I think it was last year, I bought her a book that was featured on one of these young adult websites that I go to. It was all over the place. And she read it and told me later this was not a young adult book.
Nope.
And I'm kind of, so movies and games, they have these ratings on them, right?
Right.
But books don't.
Right.
Yeah.
There are some companies that are trying to include those more now. I've trusted a number of review sites. There's one that the Christian radio station talks plugged in reviews. I usually use that as a guide, and and for what it's worth, I loved books all my life, so I have tried to give my children my childhood, and I've done a fantastic job, by the way. My kids have only seen the first 2 seasons of Pokemon. You know, we've watched the 90s version of Sailor Moon. You know, we got some of the Dragon Ball Z, and you know, just we finished up Avatar: The Last Airbender. We're not watching Korra, so
that's fine. That's fine.
So, now, the first book series I read to them was Little House on the Prairie, and then The Giver, and a lot of books that I really loved as a kid. And I can vouch for.
Just out of curiosity, and this is a complete divergence from like our current topics. Have you given your son or read him Hatchet yet?
Yes, that was actually one of the books that I read to him.
That is a staple of every young man's like reading material.
Yes, it is.
Every young man. I say young men. I just, you know, I haven't read it to girls or anything, or I haven't, you know, I haven't like spoken to parents that read it to girls, but you know.
Yeah. Oh, my daughter liked it too. I read it out loud to them at bedtime. So we haven't read that many books, to be honest. I'm actually disappointed with how few books we've read together, but my husband has read Narnia to them. We started on the Wing Feather series. It's okay. And then the one, what was I gonna say? Oh, so the other boy book I have for him is Freak the Mighty, and then I have Where the Red Fern Grows, and the other one I just bought for him is what? I just bought him a new one. I'll have to go look.
Treasure Island from Robert Louis Stevenson. That's also a great one.
Great Battles for Boys.
Okay, awesome.
So,
yeah. But
it's
Treasure
just like
Island.
the women's stuff though. There are good books out there for kids, and I do agree checking the reviews first. I won't let them read it unless I've read it, or I have it recommended to me.
Yeah, Allison, question for you. Was it the reviewer that did not advertised it as YA when the content definitely was not YA?
Yeah.
Or was it the publisher?
It was, I think well, I can't say for the publisher, but I know that all over TikTok and all over Instagram and all over Facebook, I was seeing this book everywhere for young adult websites. And that has been that young adult line has definitely been blurred.
Yeah. Like I've been
in part because it's hot.
10 years, I can tell you it's more for women in their 30s than you'd believe.
Mm-hmm. Well, when I was growing up, young adult was for my age group, right? 15 plus.
Yeah.
And now they have the new adult genre, which is
like college age.
Which for women in their 30s.
That's the thing though. New adult doesn't sell as well still. New adult are still trying to get it to catch on, so they push YA first.
Yeah.
So
is this why I meet so many women who are like ages like 25 to 35, which is most of the women who want to talk to me, who just seem to be like mentally and emotionally 14. Is that what's going on? Like what's going on with that?
Like on some level, if you can't read classic literature and understand like the depths of the universal qualities that precede your time and culture, then yes, you have a problem with. And part of the reason, like I said, romance novels can help you sort out a lot of your emotional problems, and like understanding that women overthink things or obsess about things or something like that.
Well, that's one of the things I keep saying to millennials as I see them become political is like, read a second book. It's like they read Harry Potter and they watched The Handmaid's Tale on Hulu, and that's where they downloaded their whole political ideology, and they haven't evolved past that, you know? And it's like part of the point of reading great works of literature is that it forces you to think about things.
Yep.
And we have a generation of people, Gal showing off over here.
Hey, I do weekly streams where I read books because some people don't like it or can't or things like that. And I'm reading
for the outro. I'm gonna let you promote yourself.
No, I don't care about that, like at all. I'm just saying, like, it's actually on topic because, the reason I even do that is because I love to read and I don't have time to do it. So I was wanting to force a way to have time to do it in my life because I've never read Frankenstein. Like I don't have the time to do these things. And I just realized,
to read it.
Yeah, like, or I have friends that are like dyslexic, so they can't read or it's too frustrating for them. And so that's the only reason I was bringing it up is like, sometimes there are people that don't have the same abilities. I hated reading when I was a kid because I didn't know that there was a story behind the words. And my 4th grade teacher read Harry Potter to us, and that made me realize it. And I couldn't put books down after that fact. And so that's the only reason I brought it up. It was not a self-promo at all. And
the audiobook industry has grown 30% over the last couple of years. So,
and there's like good reason for that. Like I'll even listen to some books through audiobooks, and it's hard for me to sit there and say, oh, I read this book, but it's just I listened to it, like I at least was able to experience the book.
Right.
And there's so many ways to do it, and people should be doing it that way. That's how I read 1984.
Yes, good.
And now I have like a combo book. And when I first started doing that stream, I started with Animal Farm because it was part of the combo book. And oh my God, I freaking loved it. And like, I'm loving Frankenstein.
Hilarious. I love it.
Animal Farm, superb.
Yes. Orwell's quote actually, most people would rather be understood than loved. It comes down to a lot of misconceptions that men have about romance literature too. So,
Can you say more about that?
like, if somebody says that they love you, but they don't really know you that well, do you really believe them?
No, and I agree. This is something I talk about a lot. Is a lot of times, men will meet a hot chick and be like, "She's the one," but what they've actually done is like wallpapered their feminine ideal over this chick, and they haven't done the deep dive. They don't know that she like played Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments in middle school or whatever. To use an example of when I did that, it's like, bro, that chick takes big gnarly dumps. And she's probably lactose intolerant, and she eats cheese all the time because she's a girl. They just don't give a shit that they're lactose intolerant, and they wonder why they have a stomach ache, and they try to make it our fault. This is a part of a different rant that I'm bringing in, but like, you got to deal with that shit, man. Like, she's not gonna be, the blow up doll from your imagination. Like, if you're gonna really say that you love her, you better know something about her. You better know what makes her tick. You better know what makes those gears turn. And also, love isn't a feeling. Love is a choice. I'm gonna get Catholic on it for a second. Love is about the choices you make. It's not about the feelings, because those feelings are gonna change. They're gonna wax and wane over time. And it's really, it's hard to like someone who's terminally ill that you have to take care of. Let's just be real fucking honest about that. It's hard to like someone if they're dependent on you for everything. Like, it's very easy to resent someone, right? But love is showing up anyway, even if it sucks, doing things that suck. And that's a lot of what, being a man is just like doing things that suck because they need to get done. And that's kind of what love is. And so if you're trying to like do this like emotional, we have this like effeminate idea of love. We got a bunch of grown men out here trying to wait till they have butterflies after a casual hookup, and it's like, oh, the butterflies set in, so I know she's the one. I was like, no, bro, your central nervous system is activating because she has borderline personality disorder. She's gonna light you on fire.
That's why there's actually no such thing as a casual hookup.
Bingo. I'm big on that too. See, I am glad I invited you. I was ambivalent, but now I'm back to being. I wasn't for a bit, but now I am. I'm happy you're here. I'm happy you're here now. Thank you. That's true. No such thing as casual.
It's both comforting and disturbing, and that's kind of where I fall in. I do think that there's no such thing for casual sex, and that's true for men and women. Like, I think everyone that you have sex with is somebody that you form a deep connection with, whether you want to or not. It's like something that you're going to remember forever. And a lot of people are having sex with people that are not memorable, and what's crazy about this is something I talk
they're
about
memorable too. But they're not very
they're more infamous, maybe.
Hear me out. No, well, there's a lot of women who think they're in love, and the guy that they're in love with views them as like a gas station bathroom. Like, it's nice to have on the way home from work if you need it. But it's dirty.
Romance novels,
you know what I'm saying?
Novels come in?
No, well, here's the thing. It's what a romance novel is. The female fantasy, as far as I can tell, is some mid gets noticed by some super hot guy who would normally treat her as a gas station bathroom, right? Like, I'm not going to introduce my mother to this gas station bathroom. I do dirty things in there, right? He would treat her that way, but this amazing guy notices that actually this mid is the smartest and the prettiest and has been the whole time, and he falls at her feet and like obsessively worships her because he must have her, thoroughly debases himself to try to impress this mid,
I don't know about thoroughly debases. I would say it's more the Cinderella trope.
I don't know. Like, I'm just going based. Literally, it ends with us. I'm thinking of a particular scene. He comes, he like fucking knocks on every door in her apartment building to find her, and then falls on his knees and begs her for sex at one point. And he's a hot neurosurgeon with giant biceps, and she is thinking about starting a flower shop, and she's a mid. That's also important too.
Lively.
Yeah. She's just right. And she apparently, this character in this book, apparently at 24, looks like a 37-year-old Blake Lively, which, again, can we zoom in on that? Like, the narcissism of this woman.
She's horrible.
I mean,
I can't
it's
stand
in
her.
Hollywood, so you're shocked about the narcissism.
You should be glad it wasn't a 14-year-old actress, okay?
I always like expect people to like be human and have self-awareness and like
Why are you setting
empathize.
yourself up for disappointment, sir?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm just
I was
like
just gonna say,
walking
you probably
around.
shouldn't expect that.
No, I know.
I
That's the thing. I find myself like constantly disappointed with people, and then yet every time I leave my house, I have a renewed sense of optimism. Like today's the day. You know, I had a fucking waitress at a dive bar in Medford, Oregon, tell me, you know, I can tell that your comedy has a message, and I'm like, thank you, someone heard it.
It's the
Thank
message I'm
you.
trying to figure this whole thing out.
Fuck me. It's like the amount of the number one piece of feedback I get is that I hate women, and the way that they deduce that is because I talk about women, and I can't. And it's like, no. The whole point of my pursuit of the creative enterprise is to get men and women to get along. And the main subject of ridicule of my routine is myself. I'm mostly talking about me. Everything I talk about is something that I really thought was a good idea at the time and definitely wouldn't do again. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm talking about the culture using myself as a vehicle. And like
You're trying to figure things out.
Yes, that's why I'm doing this show. That's why I invited you and all of you. But you know, I'm trying to like I just
You're also
assume
trying to make some kind of like restitution for your past sins.
yeah, that's the Catholic part of me. I'm also I call it penance, but yeah, it's penance.
Well, I mean, like, so when you do find, you know, Mrs. Snodgrass,
not gonna happen. Go on.
You will see. You got to believe in happy endings if you're gonna have one, man.
Who says that's gonna be? I have a cat. I'm doing good. I'm chilling, bro.
Happy ending, not a sappy ending. So.
Nah, dude, I'm chilling. No, the audience, I want them to believe in love. But for me personally, I'm looking for a 6 out of 10 who knows how to use an air fryer. That's what I'm looking for. She makes hamburger. Looks like
too easy too.
I'm serious. Next girl who makes hamburger helper in front of me is getting pregnant for real.
You better be married her first.
That's where my standards are at this
hamburger
point.
Helper.
Yeah, that's what, because nobody knows how to cook. And you know what's so crazy about that? I was just on Instagram the other day and I saw a girl with no arms who made a whole omelet with her feet. So there's like no excuse for not knowing how to cook.
I thought you were about to say, so there's no reason I should make arms a requirement. Or
That's what I'm saying. I would marry Foot Girl. I was ready to put a ring on her toe. You know what I mean? I was all over it.
Give her a necklace.
I would. Necklace is actually a good idea. That's what I'm saying. Like, I would marry the fucking no arms girl if she was like nice to me and knew how to operate a fucking air fryer. But like, seriously, see, this is what I'm talking about,
The
CJ.
simplicity of men.
This is where my bar is, and I can't find anyone that meets that. And I have done an excruciating amount of work on myself to try to be a guy that commands that.
Yes.
You know?
Okay.
And it's not there. It's just not there.
Sometimes it's not evident to the women the work you've done either. So it's like if my husband washes
they have no concept.
and I'm not home, do I know that he washed the dishes? So,
no, but like a lot of these women out here, because they've been getting free DEI shit their whole life, they think that my life works the same way. Like, I just walked up to the manager and coordinator of comedy and was like, "1 comedy, please." And they were like, "Right this way, sir. There's you're going to receive the Men in Comedy scholarship, and you're just going to be pushed right to the front of the line." Like, they think that's how it happens. Like, they don't understand. They didn't see me living on a fucking train. Yeah, well, I lived on a fucking train. Like, they didn't see that part. Like, I bled for this shit, you know? Like, I had to have the kind of childhood where being funny was a requirement for survival, because you have to use
mechanism.
Like, no, not just that, but if you could be funny on the spot, you can stop someone from hurting you.
Yeah, it's a defense
like
mechanism.
That's important. Yeah, and it's like not just like defensive internally, like hiding from processing difficult emotions. I mean, literally in the moment, defending yourself from bodily harm. Like, being able to change people's emotions quickly is like a necessary life skill for some people.
Yes, but that's the same job as a novelist. It's our task to reframe things for people.
Have you, as a novel, ever stopped a real-time murder, I wonder?
I don't know, it depends on the reader, I guess. I know that some books have helped solve murders.
Almost the same thing.
Some books have helped inspire murders.
Yes, yes.
Oh, I would like to inspire a murder, to be honest with you.
What was
That
it? Catcher in the
would be
Rye? Didn't Catcher in the Rye help inspire the murder of John Lennon?
Yeah, the guy
Well,
that
I can understand Holden Caulfield's a POS.
yeah, the guy that shot John Lennon.
Can I
was
ask
actually
you?
holding
Can I
a
ask
copy
you?
of Catcher in the Rye.
Can I ask you how old you are, Theo?
I'm 33.
Okay. So the good news is that you've, like, yesterday you're talking about having like a second childhood puberty session and coming and like your brain has finished developing. You're starting to realize you're coming of age in your 30s. Okay. And this is the time when most men settle down. And this is the last time that women have to settle down before their eggs go dry. And the thing is, like, you're putting too much pressure on yourself and her on some level. So
Thank you. I do want to circle back to you meeting your husband in college and have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. I do want to circle back to that because that does feel important. This is what I mean by.
I mean, like you're talking about women that you meet constantly in bars and in places where people go to forget about the real life. Because you're right, real life is boring. Real life is uneventful, and a lot of people confuse boredom for security. And
Sure.
I'll say that there. I'm perfectly happy having a boring life.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go get the trash out when I'm done talking here. But like the whole thing is that you are searching for someone to tell you how to fix yourself on some level.
I don't think that's accurate. I don't think that's a good read.
I think it's exactly accurate.
I don't think that's a good read.
Have you guys ever watched
I think-
Animal Planet, like a documentary about like big predatory cats, and you've watched like the jaguar creep up to the capybara on the shoreline? That's CJ right now. Just each time.
Well, no, hear me out.
The
So,
capybaras and
hear me out.
Majority
So
of men who ask me about women are men that have no idea why they can't find a good woman. And
No.
they have no idea what they're doing wrong.
I
And
know.
that part of it is just
Pause.
where you're at.
Pause. Time out. I'm perfectly aware of that. I think so. The version of myself that I present for comedy and for podcasting is deliberately shallow and provocative and lacks nuance, and necessarily understates the amount of like internal work that I do. I think the reason I'm single is because of my life choices. And I don't think there's any way of avoiding that. Yeah, it's just the reality. It's just the choices that I've made. And I had different values for a lot of my life. And so because of that, I have to like deal with the downstream consequences. And that's just like kind of how life is. But also I have to
like cut off your penis though. You can still get married and have children. And you want a legacy.
I understand that. But also, I also have to use my life experiences as a vehicle to give voice to the struggles of the audience, because that's what gives me the ability to command the audience. And so that gives me kind of like, right, that I'm trying to give voice to the real life experiences of the people that I meet all the time and trying to add context so that people like you who maybe are completely divorced from this, like don't really have any real sense of what guys are up against out there, right, can kind of absorb it, like, and I'm trying to make it digestible, and apparently failing, because I can see it just like encountering a force field on your forehead. It's not, I don't know if I'm making any kind of impression.
Like I said, I know that there's an extent, like the outward appearance is the mask, and there's something behind the mask that's tied to the truth that I talked about earlier. I said there's a hidden gem, no matter how pooped, covered it is,
You heard it here, folks. Even though I'm covered in shit, I might be a hidden gem.
I mean, that's the human condition according to Christ. So, and he died for it still.
Meow.
All right, well, we've been doing this for 2.5 hours. Who says we want to do outros, huh? Let's do it.
What do we have to?
So,
we don't have to. We can keep going. Do you have more to say?
I was just going to say the rise of romantasy is a complex factoring in the rise of technology, the expansive reach of propaganda and media saturation in our society that's failed to prioritize family bonds and legacy building activities. So
This is the point I'm trying to make. Roguish Nerd made it for me. It's like looking for a needle in a stack of HIV positive needles. That is what dating feels
I
like
have
for
an
single
edit.
people right
It
now.
should say he's looking for a clean needle in a stack.
Right.
Because there's no
Right.
needles.
That is implied. And some of us aren't settling for clean needles. Some of us will just take what we can get. This is what I'm saying. Like, people who were married and got married in college when they were supposed to have no fucking idea what the streets are like now. That's what I'm saying. Like, you just don't know.
For what it's worth, both my sisters were out of college when they got married. I understand the pressure that women face outside of college. I understand the pressure that men face, okay?
Based on what?
Based on my friends and family. I have a lot of friends that are not married, and I have a lot of friends that are. And you know what? The ones that are the ones that I know in real life. You know, because I go to church and I have like hobbies and activities with my kids that I see parents and stuff do, okay? I understand that society doesn't like white men, especially white Christian men, okay? My husband is in kind of like that situation at work where, you know, problems come up like that we have to address and we have to plan for, okay? I understand. I'm just saying that, like, you're not the only one. You're not alone, and everything will be okay.
I know, but that's why I do
and
the
a
show.
lot of your
I know I'm not alone. Do you know I'm not alone?
Well, I mean, I'm more than your cat, okay? But like, you're still in my age group, okay? I understand that I was a prodigy in mine. Okay, I'm 36. Okay, and the thing is, like, everything will be okay. You say you live in reality. This is reality. Well, guess what? You still have options for choices. Don't go after any needle in the HIV positive haystack, you know? You
Probably best
are
to
a
find a different
magnet.
haystack.
You can create your own pile of needles, clean needles with
That's true.
I mean, and you're very accessible with your comedy and your humor. Having humor means that you understand the cost of humiliation and you give it to people like a free gift in a funny package that makes them feel better about their lives. That is an extraordinarily lovely gift that you can give somebody.
Thank you. I heard I have a lovely package that I share with people because I'm generous. That's what I heard. Is that right? That is, I think I nailed it.
Your standards and my standards are subjective.
Well, the other thing too is I will say this, like, if we're circling back to reasons for Theo to be optimistic, I've noticed what I'm attracting is different as my behavior reflects my values more. I'm attracting something different. But here's what's tricky about it. Every woman that I become attracted to now is on a celibacy journey. She's like, oh yeah, I'm fucking done with men. I ain't been laid in 8 months and I'm not stopping for you, motherfucker. Like, that's been kind of the energy they're giving me, which is good because that means at least it's people on the same wavelength. It's people who are fucking done. That's who I'm vibing with, you know?
But like you want the good Catholic relationship where you don't have sex until you're married. Right?
I want the air fryer relationship. We talked about this.
So are you willing to be celibate until you marry and commit to each other?
That's the only question. Like, I don't have any.
No. You said at the beginning that men have to stop this.
Well, I know, but like, I would say I don't have any questions about my own sexual discipline. I think the amount of sexual discipline in women is kind of like disturbing, you know.
Well, and that's part of the big failure of liberalism too, is to recognize you're only responsible for yourself. And if you put it out there that you do not want to have or engage in sex until you are married, which is what a good Catholic boy would do.
Right. So I'm a good Catholic man, I would say, right? But I do find myself saying no a lot. Like, that's the thing. I just had to get really good at saying no. I get offers that are obscene, like, all the time, constantly. And I just kind of have to, I'm just in a constant state of like saying no to things I don't want, which I'm told
when you clean up one area of life,
will lead to things I do want. Right.
Well, and it'll be easier to say no to other vices.
Well, yeah, I think I had to quit, my other vices first. Yeah. I think that's
That's
cleared the
the journey
pathway.
of faith is sanctification and to be set apart and to be called.
I would say that resonates.
Leading.
I've committed. At this point, I've quit almost every vice, and that sets me apart. It's a huge problem within substance abuse. Is a huge problem within comedy. It kills people's careers. People.
I mean, no, Robin Williams is going to live rent free in everybody's head for more than one reason.
Yeah.
Also, give it. I saw CJ. I saw the face you made when Theo said that he was giving up vice. Or narcotics are not the only vice out there. Theo, you and I both know.
Well, I mean, anything can become an idol.
Yeah. Well, that's true. I don't use, now to be clear. So this is my official position. I don't use. I've quit drugs, alcohol, pornography, and casual sex. And that's all of those used to play pretty significant roles in my life. If any, like those were like load bearing institutions my identity for a long time. And now I've gave them up for Jesus.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like the thing is too, is like, we're human beings where there's more than what we do that makes us who we are. And if you do all those things as a substitute for who you are, that's probably not going to last very long. And you've recognized this because you're a growing, mature adult.
Yeah, I appreciate that, because earlier I was a good Catholic boy, but now I'm an adult. I'm glad. I've grown up right before our eyes. Well, look at me. Everybody's proud. Be proud of me. W's in the chat for me growing up right before our eyes. There we go.
It'll be okay. So, now most people, like I said, who question the romantasy thing, see, I saw it coming a mile away. It's like, I knew this was going to happen. Women like to take things that men like and make them their own. So
yeah, why do y'all do that?
I think of all these women I know that pretend to like sports and then they convince themselves that they do, and I'm just laughing at them on some level.
Out of curiosity, do you think there's a degree of it that's in my personal opinion, there's a degree to which women are herd animals? Do you think there's a factor at play there where the women don't want to be left out, and so they see the men take enjoyment?
They want your attention.
Yeah, because
I mean, they want your attention.
I've seen it with like rock bands. Like the one member gets the one girlfriend, and then all of a sudden he starts skipping practice because she wants him to stay home with her. She doesn't want him going out, hanging out with them, practicing and then going out to the bar or whatever. And then, it just kind of, from that point, it falls apart.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's, they don't want to be left out. And I'm going to say the theys instead of the we's for this, for a specific reason. It's going to show my black pill on women.
Yeah. Not they, them though, right?
No. No, it's not that they don't want to feel left out. They don't want their man to have anything of their own while they can have things of their own and demand things of their own. They want their man to solely focus on themselves. That's it. Hard.
But they hate that when it happens. They want to be the sole object of your attention, but if that actually happens, they fucking hate it. Yeah, what's with that, CJ?
See, this is actually pretty classic because we want you to chase us, but we enjoy the chase a lot more than being caught sometimes. Because the chase kind of evolves into a dance. So.
Yeah. Okay, but have we not? What do you say to this idea that the juice is just not worth the squeeze? Like,
sex is for marriage. That's what I say to that. So,
no, I understand that, but let's say for the sake of argument that I'm talking that I've conceded that already, right? Like what I'm saying is like when I say the juice, I'm not referring to sex, right? Okay. I'm referring to the support and emotional intimacy and all the other components that I could potentially receive from a woman that is going to cost me chasing her, right?
Right.
Okay. So if I chase her and I do whatever she wants me to do to feed her narcissistic 14-year-old delusion of what a relationship is, right? I'm going to get there and she's still going to be this emotionally stunted narcissist. She's not going to be able to give me any of the emotional support that I would want from a relationship. So what's my incentive to chase?
Well, so the logical fallacy with that is that a woman that you will chase is not going to be, hopefully, like this emotionally stunted 14-year-old girl.
Well, you don't know me very well.
My
history says otherwise.
I want you to change this 3-hour discussion on porn into an analysis of your personality. So I think I know you better than you think.
Maybe you
well, let me ask you
adjust
this:
your
where are
standards a
we?
little.
That's the thing. I don't think that's a thing. It's like I don't know. It's weird. Like I'm meeting so many people, and like I do think like that people are in general cooler than the internet would have you believe. I think that that's true, right?
Yes.
But I also don't. I don't know, like finding someone who's okay. So I'm kind of at this point where I don't know if I'm going to meet anyone who shares my values. And I don't know that I feel comfortable brainwashing someone into accepting my values. So what do I do with that? Like, do I just sit here with my cat? Because you fucking people insist that I fucking get in a relationship and that it's my own fault that I'm lonely. And I'll totally.
It's very clear that you would like that.
I didn't say that, for the record.
Thank you. B.S. Warren's on my side. That's why you're here.
Yeah,
to just periodically say that I'm right.
I didn't say
don't just agree with CJ because you're afraid of her, you fucking coward.
No, I'm not.
A damn thing about what you should or should not do. I'm
you
just
don't
going to point that out.
You don't need a relationship to be happy, and you don't need one to be successful.
Thank you.
It's clear that you want one. So
well, sure, but I think I guess my point is the kind of relationship that I want doesn't exist, and I want to, in all things, conform my expectations with reality, because that's expectations meeting with reality is where being mentally well adjusted happens, right? So I'm like, how much of it is me being too cynical, and how much of it is I actually really do need to adjust my expectations, because this 6 out of 10 who knows how to use an air fryer probably doesn't exist, right?
So
like
that point. Earlier, you were talking about you just want a woman that can cook and something else, and then you adjusted it to knowing how to use an air fryer. I'm sorry, knowing how to use an air fryer compared to actually knowing how to cook, two different things, my friend.
I'll take it. I'll take what I can get, gal.
Well,
fuck.
The side of it is that's part of his mask. He's putting it out in kind of a humorous way. What he's actually saying, I think, on some level, is that he wants a woman that he can entrust, like, a good portion of his livelihood with safely, without burning down the house, okay, or being on fire themselves, you know, and keeping like some amount of normality to his life, because routine is boring but also good. So
you know,
I don't know. I think what I'm really looking for to put a bow on that, and we'll go to Allie because I don't want to interrupt her. I want to go to what Allie's saying. Is like really what I'm looking for is basic adult skills, a modicum of self-awareness, some ability to take accountability for some of one's own life. Right. Yeah. That's what I'm seeking, and I just am not seeing it. Go ahead, Allie.
So when I first got with my fiance, I was so proud of the pastaroni and unseasoned hamburger meal that I made for him. And this was 8 years ago. Okay. You find somebody you can grow with together.
Right.
And that's
fuck, dude. I don't know. 8 years is a long time.
The 2 out of 5s or the 3 out of 5s that you're talking about. You meet this person, you find one you get along with, and then eventually they do become, you grow with them, and you each become a 4 out of 5, a 5 out of 5, but you do it together.
Yeah.
Yes. You become more attractive to your mate when you're in love with them, and you've committed to each other.
Also,
okay. I honestly, I have really ugly stretch marks from giving birth to my children. Okay. And my husband loves them because the part of that is like it's a mark that on my body that I'm his, you know?
I think next week I'm going to do an all boys panel. This kind of sucks. I fucking hate the vibes on this show. No offense, Gal, you've been great. The rest of you, good.
Wow.
Yes, Warren, what do you want to say?
Wait, yeah, Allie, what I wanted to ask, you said that you.
Wait, what did I do?
You dated your husband.
I've been quiet the whole time.
You've been great, Selena, as always. You're my favorite panelist, actually.
You dated your husband for 8 years before marrying him. Where did the 8 years come from? I heard 8 years thrown in there.
Oh yeah, so we're engaged. We've been together, 7.5 years, almost 8 years. Yeah.
Okay. So Theo, This
Yeah.
is I'm gonna side with Allie on this, and I know you said that 8 years is a long time. This is gonna sound batshit crazy.
Okay, go nuts.
My mom and my dad dated for my he's technically he's my stepdad, and yeah, but I call him my dad because he's the father that's been in my life for like pretty much the entirety of it. My mom and my dad have been together or they dated for 16 years before they got married. He came into my life around the time I was 3 years old, and they got married during my senior year of high school.
Sure.
So it does sometimes it does, it does take a while.
Here's what I'll say is like, here's the thing, 8 years doesn't seem daunting if I had started 8 years ago, but 8 years ago I was still on bullshit. The prospect of going from where I'm at now 8 years into the future seems excruciating. And it's with somebody who's already got a bunch of, we're both carrying a bunch of fucking baggage and shit into the relationship now, like I've got my whole own fucked up life with no pillows and nothing decorating my walls. She's going to want to come in here and put pillows and shit and stuff on my walls and put my cat in a sweater.
It doesn't have to take 8 years, though.
I'm going to have to go to a farmer's market. I don't want to go to a fucking farmer's market. I don't want to pick somebody else's apples. Pick your own fucking apples. Hire immigrants like the rest of the country. Like, why is this my job and why am I paying you? Okay. I don't know.
Selena, what kind of sandwich is that, by the way?
Actually, they're tacos.
Oh, very
My
good.
husband made chicken tacos.
I saw you like shyly looking over one, like how they're arguing again. Maybe I could get a few bites in.
No, my husband lovingly made me tacos.
Yes. Well,
so imagine being me, Theo, and these lovely women are discussing their lifelong relationships that they have.
Yeah.
I am 35 years old. And hearing these things is not blackpilling me. So there is still hope, Theo. It doesn't have to be 8 years. It doesn't have to be 16 years.
No.
It'll be okay. You just have to sift through the shit.
Sometimes
like we all do.
I think I would just like a little more fucking acknowledgement that sifting through shit is what I'm doing.
I was actually going
Yes.
I think that would be great.
I don't think
any of us have disagreed with that.
I think that you really are on the right track of things, though. I think
Thank
you personally are doing very well, despite the women that you're meeting. I think personally you are doing very, very well.
Thank you. See how easy that was, CJ?
You have a lot to people. I didn't know that was
but giving you nice compliments too.
I mean, you have a lot to be proud of. So
thank you. I do have a lot to be proud of. I am amazing. CJ was just saying earlier, I have an incredible package that I share with people because I'm generous. I have a lot going on. It's not, it's the ratio that does it because I'm so short, it exaggerates, but it's incredible, I would say. Go on. You wanted to say
I was just going to say,
tremendous
even. Like I've been around women in bars. I watch how they are with men. They use them for drinks and conversation, and then they're out. So like they're horrible. I totally agree.
I think men have it worse, by the way.
Absolutely.
And the reason I think that is just so I never thought I would be putting myself on my face on the internet. I just made a freaking video a couple of years ago because I did a thing. And ever since then, like I found a bunch of people on the internet, and now I'm sitting here streaming, talking about life shit, and it's freaking awesome. The women have it easy for stuff like this, but it's also hard in the same way because there is a certain, you don't want to be seen as like this woman that's leading on a bunch of dudes, but then random dudes are just in your DMs because you're a woman on the internet.
Yeah, sorry about that, by the way. That was my fault.
You're not quite as random as you think.
Not what I'm talking about, as you very well know, Jump Street that you are.
It was late. I'd had some wine. It's fine.
And sometimes even having to sift through that, and I'm not saying I'm even remotely of any echelon higher than I am. It's just I have to deal with the fact that I've never experienced this because I was always a tomboy. I was the best friend of all the dudes, and people didn't look at me that way. So it's hard for me to navigate that just in general. Like when I got into the Marines, it completely opened my eyes to, okay, I'm a woman in a man's space, and this is an entire different dynamic that I have to sift through. And I have a lot of fucking choices here. Men don't have that problem, like really at all, in my opinion. It is hard for men to go up to a woman and get past their fear of rejection. And I see that because I have a lot of male friends, and I completely empathize with that fact, because especially in modern times, women are like, there'll be the woman that just scoffs, like, you really think you're on my level? Get out of my space. Or, oh my God, you're a creep. I can't believe you would just come up to a random woman. You're going to kill me type of situation. There's so many different ways that women react to dudes that are actually putting themselves out there like that. And I can't even imagine how that is and how difficult that is. So I get where you're coming from with those issues, and the fact that you are a comedian and you have all these random ass women that are going to throw themselves at you. Like, how are you supposed to sift through that in kind of the same way as I was talking about with like men sliding into DMs type?
Yes.
So it's okay, Theo.
See, Gal, that's so, thank you so much. See how easy that was, CJ? I like you so much better, that analysis. That was so much easier. That was so much more palatable for me to listen to. I enjoyed that. Thank you.
Well, I force you to be honest with yourself so you can accept.
Yeah, I fucking hate it. Stop. I'm not enjoying it at all.
The good news and the bad news are often tied together.
It's like making people be honest with themselves and holding up the mirror is my job. That's what I'm supposed to do. You're just kind of cutting into my territory a little bit, playing out of position. You know?
You invited me on. Romance is my territory. Women want to be romanced. Okay, and that's what I mean about the chase. Part of the chase turns into a dance, and it's a romance.
I know they got to be chaseable. I got to meet somebody chaseable. Ain't nobody out here chaseable.
Someone, and then you've got to decide to chase them. Yeah, and until you decide to chase them, you don't have to worry.
It's bro,
I'm just
dude.
tell you, not all women want to be chased like that.
You know,
what do women want? What do women want, Gal?
Women don't know, so don't ask that question.
We want.
See what I'm saying?
No. This is what we want. We want you to know what we want without us telling you.
This is why you don't. Okay,
that's
I want to tie this in.
Perfect.
This is what I was talking about earlier when I said you don't take dating advice from women. Like you don't take advice on how to catch fish from a fish. This is what I'm talking about. This right here. You just illustrated the point beautifully. That was what I was trying to get at, right? And this is why I got to have boy panels. I think the girl panel thing might have to be once a month. I'll be honest with you.
Oh my God,
this has been a total fucking disaster. We ended up talking about my feelings for half the show, which is not what I wanted to accomplish.
How did we get from
this is the essence?
I want to talk about porn books. You guys keep changing the subject.
This is the point of romance books, though, is we force you to think about what you really want in a relationship, and you find the kind of person that will match you on a compatible basis while sharing your values.
But that's why it's important to be careful what romance books you are reading.
Yes.
Bingo.
Some of them are going to be too hard for you.
Let's be honest here. Romance books are for women. What's the percentage of men reading romance books?
Every day.
Yo, I actually got this from my roommate. He read it in jail.
And I'm not talking about
and,
you. You're doing
he said it was really good. He said, dude, I read this in jail. I got a boner so many times, dude. And I was like, all right, man.
Yeah. Well, and this is the other half, I think, of the discussion that I was brought on for, is that men have been pushed out of the publishing sphere for a large portion because romance, women tend to be readers. We tend to be the kind of people that will read the same kind of book over and over and over again. We make very good buyers, and this is incentivizing publishing companies to come out with the schlock, on a regular, semi-regular basis. And it does not have the same kind of effect as like real art, in the sense of the music, seeing the book as an artistic endeavor versus a business one. Yeah, so it doesn't have the same kind of reach.
And after a certain point, it starts to become a self-fulfilling prophecy with all the studies about the gender reading gap. There's a degree to which that women do read more than men, But once you start only catering to the female audience and leave nothing else there to like, cater to the rest of the market, then, then of course you're going to get these studies, because I mean, all Barnes and Noble has are just, shelves upon shelves with this. And unfortunately, it's also you're starting to see it spread to the manga sections as well, because a lot of
they've been at it longer.
Huh?
They've been at it longer, I think.
No, so it's spread to the manga sections, because you go to the manga section and they'll have like popular shonen, which is for young men.
Okay.
Stuff like Blue Lock and like Chainsaw Man and Demon Slayer and all that. But now, if you go into Barnes and Noble, you'll start to see over half of the manga section is now yaoi, yuri,
Shoujo.
Yeah, thank you. Do you follow my tweets? Did I say that previously? And now you're
no, but
me?
I checked your Twitter timeline. I know why you and Theo are friends. So.
Oh, great. So, but yeah, no, you get it. So, but yeah, they
look, anything in general it comes down to you get what you cater to. If you have bratty children, you cater your children to their worst extremes. Okay. If you have casual sex, quote casual sex, with all these repugnant women, okay, you really only attract more from repugnant women. Okay.
No, that is true. Can confirm.
I know.
Yeah.
So no, we get what we cater to, and what you incentivize, you eventually economize. What you incentivize, you will find a way to turn it into a profit. Okay, right now the market isn't so great for men. I agree. I have a lot harder time finding books for my son.
Well, there's a lot of great independent authors like B.S. Warren.
No.
Not a kid's book.
Yeah, no, Young Monarchs is not.
Never mind.
Book. No.
Okay.
Never mind.
Yeah, I'm
not done with it yet.
If you actually look at the beginning of the book, it says warning: explicit content not suitable for audiences under 18.
See, and like moms like me will approve of that too. We thank you for when you label your books a certain way.
Yeah, so. I mean, I think I freely admit I think trigger warnings are bullshit. I think it's for babies, but when it comes to parents, you know, I mean, I am of the opinion that parents should you should at least be skimming through the books your kids are reading,
yes.
And making sure there's nothing weird in them.
Yes.
But I know not every parent is going to do that, even though I think they should.
Plugged in reviews has helped me here and there with newer books.
Yeah.
So I'll plug them. Plugged in reviews is good.
Yeah, but yeah, like at conventions, I'll tell parents, they'll some of them will ask me openly, but I will clarify. I'm like, this is an adult book, especially if I see their kid right there and they're like, oh, you like these characters, right? And I'm like, no, she can buy, and I'm like, look, I have merch, your kid can buy the merch, but they, this book is not suitable for them. And I, obviously I say I got stuff coming out later, that, will be more suitable for them, but yeah.
Well, and the other thing is in the last 20 years, like the push for individualism has become very apparent over the socio-political kind of spectrum, where I mean, like you get labeled as a white supremacist if you believe in individualism. But the truth is that we're very social creatures too. We're communal people, and we're supposed to be like a family nation. So you should have, at this rate, we should have more content like labels for things, I think. Because when I was a kid, my mom, God bless her, she let me read whatever I wanted, and that included some romance novels. And that's probably not something that I'm going to let my kids do.
Yeah. I think, I think misadvertisement of the material definitely. That I didn't put that thought together. You could probably get where I was going, but
there is such a problem with the democratization of publishing that the gatekeepers have been let out of a job, and on some level they had a purpose that was like kind of useful in the fact that parents could sort things out a little bit more easily. We don't have that anymore, and a lot of them have been compromised by the woke ideology, and they've been paid off by different companies to promote, like you guys were saying about the YA book that Allison's niece found.
Yep.
So, yeah, it really is a drug, and it can be misused. So, You have anything else for me, Theo? Do you have any, issues you want to talk about with your father?
No, I already don't want to. I already want to go back and fucking delete this stream, but I already spent so much time building it up. Now it's probably gonna be really good for the audience. Actually, this is gonna do very well in the. I think it's going to do very well in the algorithm. I'm pretty happy with the viewer. The viewership has been pretty steady and pretty good. This is probably going to be.
Change the channel.
This is probably going to be my best performing episode, so I'm pretty happy about that. But
just change the title to "Watch Women Beat Up on Me."
Yeah, that's.
I mean, there's an algorithm for that. I think.
I actually do have a video called that in my phone already. That's what.
Not the same kind.
That's different. I had to pay good money for that. That was.
Watch women psychologically scar me.
Yeah, it's like
healing my old wounds.
Part 7. Again, this does not happen when I have men on the show. It does not turn into gang up on Theo. Everyone is like generally supportive of me.
When it does
kind of fucking ridiculous, to be honest with you.
When it comes to like the elements of literature, though, like Aristotle said in Poetics that plot was more important than character. With women, however, character is more important. We want to make sure that you're a good person.
No fucking.
And that means that we get to psychologically scar you until you, submit to our demands or push back. We have to test you.
Yeah, I was just talking about this on the show yesterday. I think you were watching when I said it. Like, women actually have to be annoying on purpose. They can't help it, right? Because especially early in dating, when it's a really bad thing for a woman to get linked up to a guy with a temper. Right. So you have to be as obnoxious as you can stomach being to figure out whether or not the guy you're dealing with is able to keep his cool emotionally. Because a guy with a bad temper is not good to be around women, and he's really not good to be around children. Right. Because children are annoying as fuck and they have zero empathy. They're just little demons. Right. And they will fuck up your day.
Children test the lines just like men and women do.
Sure. Yeah. And I definitely. Well, that's what I say. I guess I think a lot of this like outrageous feminism, I've said this is like, especially the more performative and loud and obnoxious it is, to me, it feels like when a kid is like running around Target and the kid doesn't want to run around Target. He's like, someone please care about me enough to stop me from doing this. And I think that's what feminism is. It's crying out for boundaries instead of, because they insist on no boundaries. I can do whatever I want. My actions are divorced from consequences. I want no judgment. I want to do whatever I want and not face any kind of repercussions for it. But what they're really saying is the opposite, because to live that way is to live in a constant state of emotional and mental disarray, to be in just constant fear and anxiety. Living without boundaries is not fun. It's paralyzing. It's destabilizing, right? Boundaries are good, actually. Rules are good, actually. Good
boundaries are good.
Yeah. Sometimes DJ, the things are implied in the statement.
And sometimes it's good to tell the stupid people the specifics. So
God, wow. You see what I'm saying? This is what I'm talking about. She's not even hiding the fact that she thinks she's better than the audience. And if I may say so, the panel.
No, she doesn't think she's better than the audience. She's just.
I've admitted my problems with my father and that I went through severe depression. I don't know how I'm better than.
I know, but I didn't ask you for that. You can't weaponize that now to get out of rudeness. I didn't ask you for that.
Doing the same thing. You're lashing out at me because you.
Yes, but I'm the comedian and the host. I'm supposed to be.
I've turned this into a counseling intervention.
Yes, I'm supposed to be obnoxious. You're the guest. You're supposed to be likable.
I'm giving you boundaries.
I find you frustrating and difficult. That's how I find you. I don't find you likable. I'm supposed to be frustrating and difficult. That's my job.
Call your mom tonight and tell her that you love her.
I will not. But thank you for the suggestion.
You'll do it next week anyway.
Now that
I will not. But thank you though. I will kiss my cat on his princely forehead and tell him how much I love him, and then I'll send an ill-advised DM at 3 a.m. That's what I'll do.
You should turn in that song from My Fair Lady where Henry Higgins is like, "But you let a woman in your life, and it's chaos all the time."
It do be like that though, for real. It do be like that.
Yes, I will say that's one of my daughter's favorite musicals, and I just love singing along with it. So
doesn't kind of like just like kidnap a woman off the street though.
If you
Isn't
watch
that-
it, it's hilarious.
I know.
Hilariously, I'm more partial to Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, which is that on steroids. Your
Oh, yeah.
summary of that on steroids.
I like the music of My Fair Lady, so I think that's what sells it for me. Watch The Sound of Music a few times, Theo. You'll feel better.
Okay. All right. That's so now that we've completely lost the male audience, do we want to completely that we were talking? God, yeah, my audience comes here with certain expectations, and now we're talking about musicals. I think I've completely lost control of the panel. I don't think this went according to plan
what's
at
really
all.
crazy? I'm seeing
This
how
was a
it
disaster.
happened too. I'm seeing
Yeah.
how it happened because first she tested the waters, and then she put me in my place and asked me how long it had been since I had approached a woman. And then as soon as she was like, "Oh, okay, he's out of the way," then she started to put the screws to you because she was like, "Oh, I have destroyed his only security blanket here on this panel."
Yeah, it was systematic, and also, yeah, and I still think that was gross and unfair to call him out like that because I still think you have absolutely no concept of what men are actually facing. I know that you say you do, but the only person I heard express the requisite amount of empathy was Gall. So thank you for that. I'm glad I invited you.
I have a lot of empathy for men. Most of it is my son. So you you don't seem very receptive to it for what it's worth.
That's true. That is
see, like empathy doesn't get you very far with women though. Like I'm trying to do the thing where men we go to men and expect them to fix things. And I mean, like I assumed that you like kind of like brought me on to explain like how the Twilight Revenge and the Lord of the Rings fangirling, like that thing where like millennial women just love the Lord of the Rings and that's their like version of porn. And
is that your experience?
No, I mean there's an article on it. Sarah Sandover like shared it the other day.
I don't know if I've ever had a conversation about millennial women with a millennial woman about the Lord of the Rings that
the trilogy
reflected interest. Yeah, I don't know if I've met a woman who is interested. Is this like an IQ threshold thing?
No, it's a. I mean, like,
hold on. Let's bring in the rest of the panel.
Lord of the Rings. What? Millennial here. Love the Lord of the Rings.
I meet a ton of millennial women, and all of them think that the Lord of the Rings sucks. So who am I not meeting?
Me, apparently. What?
Okay.
What?
Okay. No. Hold on. Let her finish. Go ahead.
No. This is an article. Like that's like their favorite version. That's like their version of movie porn.
I want to be clear. I meant the other her. I wanted Gall to finish.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I don't really have much more else to say besides the fact that I don't know what millennial women you're. Never mind.
You do though. You do know which ones I'm talking to.
I mean, like you've admitted the ones
stop
that you're
talking to women I don't like. Like
that's
figure
all
it out,
of them,
dude.
You want me to just give up?
I've told you
all of them.
I've told you both as men. Look, put yourself together. Look very nice. Get nice clothes. Be polite.
I know, but do you understand why all of this advice rings hollow? Because you have no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
I can assure you, I can.
It just you don't know what we're up against. So this all rings hollow, and it sounds very naggy.
Be empathetic to you.
Sounds naggy.
You have to. If I'm empathetic to you, you have to take what I'm saying as truth, and you don't want to hear this truth. Okay, it'll be fine.
It sounds so naggy.
That's a little condescending.
That's just like my voice. Okay.
So my advice to you is I'm not saying
good.
I'm
More advice.
I'm not some perfect person to look up to at all, but the fact that just our last two streams that we've done together, there is a bit of a connection here. Look for women similar to me who don't get along with a lot of women, who like to hang around with the guys. I'm actually being completely serious here. The women that I get along with are also women who don't get along with the majority of women. That they like to hang out with the dudes. They're not. I'm not saying don't take anything from this, CJ. They're not naggy. He called you naggy moments ago, and I'm not bringing it back to that.
I meant it.
Doesn't mean you're right.
It sounds to me like you're going after the wrong women for you.
That's very true.
Because we have similar interests. We can hold a conversation. The women that are like that are going to be similar to women like me. So let me describe me. I just did. I hang out with dudes. I have similar interests with dudes, and I don't get along with the majority of women. The ones that I do get along with also do not get along with women.
Additionally,
ahead.
real quick, I just wanted to make a quick note. He also lives in a state where methamphetamines and cocaine are legal, so that's probably not helping the quality of people in that area.
Why don't you come to BaseCon this year, Theo? You could probably.
If I can figure out a way to make money while I'm down there, I travel for work a lot. So if I can figure out a way to make money while I'm down there, yeah, let's do it.
Well, it's in Michigan, so.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I do it. I do it if I could make money. I'm trying to like relocate so that I can. Anyway, that's a whole like business conversation that doesn't fit.
I didn't mean to bust your balls for living in there.
No, but that's a good.
I live in Colorado, so like I'm not far from that myself, and I hate it here. I don't go out. I only talk to people on the internet. There's a reason I'm single, and one of those things is I don't like any of the fucking liberal ass dudes.
Gal, can I ask you a question? Where have you been all my life?
Told you.
In the Marines and
okay. Can I say something? Can I just demonstrate a little bit of self-awareness so that you do, for the sake of the panel? So one of the things about me is that I have this like very like deep feeling artistic side. So I have like a drop of androgyny in both my presentation and in my mannerisms, and so my polarity that I function best with is like tomboy ass chicks. And when we get together, for some reason, my masculine side like surges up, and they really feel that safety and like sink into their feminine. Like historically, the relationships I have that have worked well, which I found by accident, thinking I was pursuing a common garden tool, right? I've never pursued a quality woman on purpose. I've only done it by accident. But when it does happen, it's always been that kind of dynamic. So I just think that's striking.
Gal, would you go out on a Twitter date with him?
A Twitter? What the fuck is a Twitter date?
I can ask what is that? First of all, okay, hold on. Time out. Mom, I can do it. Mom, I can order my own food, Mom. I don't need you to do this for me. I can do it. That's my problem. Okay, that's why I'm not calling my mom later. Is because of this shit right here.
Your mom is better.
That's why you trigger me so much. That's why I figured it out.
That she's not as naggy as I am.
She is naggier, if anything. It's rough.
I meant like kind of like a Zoom date, but you go out for coffee and you have the same time.
No, please stop explaining it. You're making it sound faggier. Stop. Stop. You're making it so much worse. This is why people... God. Damn it. Anyway... Do we want to do outros? I'm just fucking sick of this shit.
Well, okay, just DM him later. Tell him that I'm naggy and that it doesn't sound like a bad idea.
Lord.
That would be a big favor to me, improving me right.
Okay, panel, did you see me tell her to fuck off 3 times and she's still doing it? Did y'all see that? Did y'all see that? Am I in the fucking Twilight Zone? What's happening here?
I think
we all know that I'm right.
That's okay. Sometimes, even when you're right, CJ, a hands-off approach is more appropriate. Sometimes you just nudge instead of coming in like Joseph fucking Stalin and forcing people to will kiss
who has no sense for your empathy. So I thought, just push the man. So
that's
I don't know when this became about, Theo's dating life, but it was supposed to be about
it was about
seriously. This is supposed I'm not doing any more female panels ever again. I'm fucking done with this shit.
I didn't sign on for
if nothing else, I am giving you quality material to work with for your next answer.
Damn it. Every woman I talk to says that to me, and they're all wrong. None of you are special.
See,
you're all interchangeable.
Where even a blind squirrel finds a nut. So,
God. Anyway, speaking of finding nuts, we should end the show. This has been a disaster. I hate myself. I should never have been on the internet.
Are you sure? I'm having a great time.
Fuck off, B.S. Warren. Nobody asked you. You fucking cocksucker. You're just happy because she took you out early. And I'm over here trying to just defend Western civilization and masculinity against this onslaught of dehumanizing lysostratic protest.
Theo, you
Like-
can't see it underneath this mask and this flannel, but I am sweating nervously because I know the next stream I appear on, if CJ shows up there, she's gonna put me under the microscope.
Oh yeah,
too.
and I'm gonna
So-
put you guys together as revenge for this bullshit about you taking her side out of cowardice. I needed someone to back me up, and you completely dropped the ball. You fucking
You need to bring
bedwetter.
the shield there
It's
instead
been
of
a great
Stevie Wonder.
first show, you know.
God, Allie, normally these shows go well and I come off looking cool and interesting. That's how my audience is supposed to view me. I guess that's over now. My credibility with the audience is gone.
That's a great ringtone.
Over.
I'll
God.
watch next week.
Anyway, yeah. Next week there'll be a male panel and I'll look smart by comparison.
Yeah.
You
And
did just
I'm not
fine.
going to be on that male panel probably.
Look, we say this
Oh,
out of
Lord.
love, okay? I say this as your sister. and
Lord.
friend,
I
okay?
reject your love and raise you contempt.
Well, you know, you'll suffer loss for it in heaven, but one day you'll thank me. So.
It's a great conversation about porn.
Right?
Oh man, yeah.
This is uncomfortable.
Jesus Christ, look at Iron. Iron is just roasting me in the chat. I have to see him
Sorry,
later.
I was waiting for you to say it.
Tieso's like, bro, my bros watched this, and they just watched my mom get my prom date for me. You know how fucking humiliating is? I give advice to other men about how to do this, and my mom just got my prom date for me. It's
He's
fucking
cracking up in the
humiliating.
background, by the way.
For everyone.
Yes, yet, okay?
This is goddamn. I used to be cool. I used to have a
You
public
said you were
image
going
to
through a
maintain.
second childhood, so your mom getting your prom dates actually quite
Damn.
appropriate.
Anyway, I think you grossly misunderstood my second puberty statement earlier, by
It's
the
okay.
way.
It comes in a
We
nice
don't have time to dive into it. I'm trying to end the fucking show so it doesn't get worse for me. I worry the more I talk to you, the stupider I look. That's incredibly frustrating because here's the thing. My whole life, I've had the ability to fix things by talking about. If I talk for long enough, eventually I become right. Right? That's always been my experience.
Agree with
But
me,
then,
Dad.
so here's the thing. But because of that, when I'm in a situation where I'm digging a hole, my instinct is to keep digging because eventually I'll hit China. Right? Like
That-
I'll eventually get out. And that has not been my experience during this podcast.
Giving up is not the same as losing a battle.
What does that mean?
What does it mean? Stop digging a hole for yourself and admit I'm right, and then you'll be right, and we'll all be good.
It's not about being right. We were having a
Yeah, see, that's the thing. This isn't about helping me. This is about dunking on me and being right. This is fucking gifted kid energy right now that you're giving me, where it's just about like it fucking. This is like
Sometimes
For what it's worth, like
There's
most
no
romance
right and
novels, take the hero, the heroine, on a journey of self-discovery that involves a lot of humiliation. So this is kind of like a romance novel. If you do follow up with him, Gal, please let me know how.
Jesus Christ. God, this is excruciating.
I know. I
know.
think
Oh
you
my
get your
God.
Hallmark movie.
I think
love
you're
story,
making more
okay?
out of it than it should be.
You know what? I'm Catholic, so suicide is a sin that I won't do. But you're lucky because I'm feeling I am right at the line. All right.
Speaking of at the line, we're at the 3-minute mark. How about
Yeah,
that?
good. Okay. All right. We're about to come. We're coming up on 3.5 hours. Let's see if we can get outros. Shall we?
I'm pretty sure this is why Society doesn't miss me that much on his show too.
Yeah, I kind of get it now. Like originally I thought he was too hard on you. Now I get it.
No, it's okay. He ignored my Carl Jr.'s comment yesterday, and I know he did.
Yeah. Where did you come out? What was he talking? Was he talking about how Carl's Jr. is using whores for advertising again? And this is some kind of like win for conservatism or something?
Yes, I said no.
Okay. Well, it's not. I agree with you for once.
See, we're all right. We're all happy.
Yes, we're back on being against whores. All right. Hey, common ground.
Yay!
Common ground.
Low bar, but
We
I'll take
did it, gang. Full circle.
Now you can
Did
say
it.
that she's right, and we can move on.
She's right about the whores.
Yep.
I'd say. Just quit while I'm ahead. Is that what you're?
8 years will
All right.
pass by quickly, so.
God, I forgot about the 8 years. Jesus Christ. I don't know, man.
It
I don't
takes a
know,
long
man.
time for a sword to be sharpened.
My
You're
cat's
real
gonna be
sharp when you're
dead
done.
by then. My first of all, my
do you
sword
mean?
is plenty sharp already. I've sheathed it.
I understand the baby trap references then. Huh?
Yeah, God. All right. Well,
Okay.
can we get the fuck out of here? Because everybody wants to go home. No one is happy anymore. Everyone is embarrassed and dead inside. I might just be projecting. Allie, if my one female viewer wants to buy your book, where would she go to do that? Go ahead and share it with the audience.
You can find it on Amazon.
Great.
Look up
What-
Allison Sanders, exactly how it, ALYSUN.
Put the link in the chat. It's
I don't-
somewhere.
Yes. Actually, if you could.
Here, I'm gonna copy it and put it in your chat.
Thank you.
Actually, yeah, I was gonna say I already posted it in the private chat.
Oh shit! Sorry, I didn't
Yeah.
even look. I'm a bad producer.
Yeah.
I'm a
Already
bad. I
opened
gotta
it.
outsource
Yeah.
this shit, dude. I'm
Not to
terrible.
be weird. Sorry. As soon as CJ was like, "BS Warren." did you
Okay,
read my
everyone's
book?"
posting their shit in the private chat. Can you just post it in the public chat so I don't have to repost it?
Well, you
Is
have
this-
to have a wrench to put it in the public chat.
There, I can do
Yeah.
it. I'm
Yes,
fine.
it is
I got
linked.
it.
Selena's
Lita.
got it for you.
Oh,
Thank
thank
you.
God. Thank God. Ugh,
You were
hold
too
on.
busy
Mom,
being red as a
And tell her,
tomato
thank
because your
God
mom
that
asked
you're
me
not
out.
as naggy as
Yeah.
my.
Wait. Well, there were like 3 different insults directed towards Theo there. Could we run?
And
those
what?
one
And they
at a
all
time?
talked over each other. I am never doing an all-female panel again. I'm fucking done with this shit, dude. This was a terrible idea from Jump Street.
Oh, I can't.
God. Next time, I'm getting a bunch of OnlyFans girls drunk and yelling at them about their body count. That's what I'm
Thank you.
doing. That looks way
Thank you,
easier.
Selena.
This sucked. I was, oh, Theo, wouldn't it be great if the audience could see a bunch of smart women on the panel all at the same time? Fucking no. This was a stupid idea. Oh, let me invite the best women I know to all talk to each other. That's stupid. Never again.
Iron is just dying in there laughing. You should hear him.
God.
Can you hear him
Dude.
I
laughing
see him
in
in
the other
chat,
room?
and I can imagine it.
He's just cracking up in there. It's hilarious.
Well, like if it
God
makes you feel better,
damn.
like most people on the internet that I talk to that are single and men, they're like, "How can I find a woman like you?" And I'm like, "Go back in time 10 years."
Yeah, how can I avoid women like you at all costs?
I think
Is there a repellent spray I can buy? Or perhaps there's a blessing I can receive from a priest that repels demons? Is there something I could put on my door, maybe?
I honestly think
Just
you're
keep
doing
them
pretty
away
good with
forever.
The OnlyFans girls and the Planned Parenthood workers and the people that show up late to your set. So
That was all one girl.
well, I mean, like you talk about several of them at a time.
Yeah,
sometimes.
they're all kind of this. They're all kind of interchangeable. I think that's where the idea that they're all
At least
interchangeable
I'm
comes.
not interchangeable.
Yeah. God, I kind of wish you were. Okay, next. Moving on.
You know, you could have just been like, "Yeah, you're one of a kind."
See that? This is why I need you to hang out more. I'm gonna keep you around. Yeah, I need.
So I can do the one-liners for you.
Yeah,
and you can have
that's
it in
because
depth.
I have a
Yeah.
no. Creatively, I detest one-liners on principle, but they
Mm.
are valuable. So I need
They're
somebody to
zingy.
pick up the slack. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I need
Yeah,
somebody
why not?
who
Good.
makes up for some of my deficiencies. Anyway, speaking of my deficiencies, CJ, where can we find your literature? Are we?
So I have
Is
a
it being posted in the chat already? It's in
I
there.
got it. I sent it out.
Okay,
Good.
I put my Amazon link and my my website.
Oh, thank you. I didn't see the Amazon link. Here we go.
Okay, it's under Allison's. So,
Okay, no, Allison, I want to reiterate. You write Green Flag romances for adults and young adults. Is that right?
Yeah.
Is that
Yep.
accurate? Okay, and CJ, how would you describe your work besides caustic and naggy?
I discover them as complicated, meaningful fun. So
Oh, good. That's how I like my fun. Complicated and meaningful. All right, moving on.
you'd be surprised at how often the two overlap.
B.S. Warren, your books have muscle mommies in them, so you're my favorite author on the panel. I think that goes without saying. Where can we find your book? I've actually read some of his book, and it's good. The plot moves right along. Things happen. There's muscle mommies and a hot lesbian. I haven't finished it yet, but I really like where it's going. B.S. Warren, where can we find that?
Yeah, so if you head to bsforeign.card.co, you click on the books tab, you can snag yourself a copy of Young Monarchs, Last War of the Eight Kingdoms. It's an epic adult high fantasy novel about 8 royal heirs who band together to save their world from all-out war following an insane week-long bender on mushrooms. Super high-octane story. It's got tons of royal intrigue, lots of large-scale clashes between good and evil out on the open battlefield. And in 2026, I will be unleashing a savage new saga, the Fist of Terraheim series. It is brutal. It is unrestrained. It is drenched in blood and glory, carved in the wake of a falling star. You're guaranteed to enjoy it. But yeah, that's what I got. So head over
Honestly,
to there.
you're better with indie publishing with those kind of descriptions. It sounds a lot more intense than the traditional publishing's offering.
Thank you. I appreciate it. No, I just, yeah.
That was brought up, quick to get to that. We took a little detour, but it's fine.
We covered it a little bit.
But yeah, click the books tab. You get snag my stuff there. So the digitals are available through Amazon. You'll just click the link for digital on the landing page, and then you can also claim it in paperback there. I gotta sell the paperbacks through Ko-Fi because Amazon's a pain to set up the paperback publication with. But yeah.
Do you use Ingram Spark as your publisher?
No, so I actually handle it all myself. So I just, I use Bookmobile to print them. So I get a quote from Bookmobile. I sell what stock I have, and then I flip that money around. I put it towards the printing fees, and then I
do that for my comic books.
Yeah. Yeah, I just do it on myself. Yeah, kind of. I coordinate the effort myself.
Okay.
So
if you ever have any questions, you can email me.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I've been doing this a long time. I don't charge you for advice. So there are a lot of people that scam people like that. I hate it. So cutting into their territory profits.
All right. Selena, you were here. What cool stuff do you do on the internet that you want the audience to go? We actually might have some audience overlap, so that might actually be good.
Yeah. You can find me usually on the weekly Rogues Gallery. I try to produce over there. Mainly I just stay quiet and push buttons and, react to the chat, that sort of thing. Yeah, send out links, that sort of thing. Kind of what I was trying to do here, but failed miserably. Sorry.
You're a great producer.
Yes.
But
you were not the problem with this show, Selena. I want to promise you that. You did great. You did your job wonderfully.
Self-inflicted. You can talk about it on your date.
Right. You can find me over there on Friday on Iron Oxide's channel at 5:30 p.m. PST. You're a part of the panel as well. You can find me on here sometimes when you invite me, which is cool. I like being here. And just on X, basically. If you can find me, because I'm apparently shadow banned. So I did something to piss somebody off. Yeah, I really am. No one, no one can find me when they type my name in. But yeah, thanks for having me. It was interesting.
Yeah, that's a word for it. Speaking of interesting, Gal, you were the best part of today. Where can my fans go if they want to see more of you?
Green-haired anti-liberal on all the socials. YouTube, Rumble with the hyphens, because there's Rumble's weird and it has a user account and a channel account. Though I do not write books, I read them audibly on my streams every Wednesday. So it's called Cooking the Books, where I take the book list, collecting dust in the corner, and read it to you so you don't have to. And currently we're reading Frankenstein, so I'm really excited for that. And excellent. Mary Shelley, superb writing, especially because I just got done. Well, I went on a journey to the West in between, but The Haunting of Hill House, I really despise that book. And this horror book is much better, significantly better.
Hold on. Selena, Iron's saying he posted a meme on X. Can you figure out what he's talking about and we'll bring it up on the screen?
Yeah. Are you sure? Because
I don't know. We'll see.
Iron was having a blast at you being embarrassed, so it could embarrass you.
No, that's fine. My life is one constant state of leaning into and embracing humiliation. Oh, that's not a good sign. Okay, we gotta bring it up on the screen now. I will say, just because before we get off of Gaul, if you're a big fan of my show and my comedy, you're really going to like following her on Twitter. I would strongly recommend you go and do that. She's a good follow. What is it? Did you? Hold on.
I'm still looking for it. Oh my God, Iron.
I don't
God,
wear heels, so we know this.
That is graphic. I'm gonna
I love it. I mean, it's kind of on theme for the beginning of the stream.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to save that to my phone for research purposes. All right.
His laugh is killing me in there. He's dying.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Unfortunately.
Okay. I can always
Allison-
sue you for, copyright infringement or something.
Allison has this look on her face like, what the hell did he invite me to, man?
Yeah. No. Well, Allison, this is the first show we've ever had that was like this.
Allison.
They've all been good prior to this, so this is brand new. I
was hesitant to do it because I did.
No, I understand
years and years ago when they were first, coming up, and I didn't find I did very well on them, so it took a lot of convincing.
Right. And now it's going to take a lot. It's going to take a lot of convincing to get me back on the internet, to be honest with you, after this. This was terrible. Like, I don't know. I mean, I would say this is right up there with telling dick jokes that I worked really hard on to a room full of silent strangers. I would put it right on the same level of pain and suffering. Speaking of pain and suffering, if you want to see more of me after this, which I can't imagine why you would, because the quality really suffered. Can't emphasize that enough. Then follow me on YouTube. I'm going to be dropping a bunch of shorts soon, and then I'm paywalling the full crowd work special behind my Patreon. So please come support me on Patreon. We're going to have a merch store up soon, so be on the lookout for that. Probably put that picture Iron made on a shirt or something. Sell it, see how that goes. I have a feeling that I have a lot of fans who are into mommy dommies, so I think that's going to do well. Just
you said you had a lot of fans that have mommy issues.
No, almost certainly. I think it's that's that Venn diagram is a circle, I think. So yeah, that'll be fun. I'm gonna end this stream before anything else bad happens to my reputation. All right, this has been fun. Thank you to the panel. Thank you to the panel. This was excruciating. All right.